honor to be with you, man. Rashad Evans UFC champion, Hall of Fame, and you were extremely smart and just didn't leave it there and started another company with two powerhouses, Umbo, and it's just a pleasure to have you in, man.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, man. It's not too far from where I live, so it was kind of a pleasant drive in.
Oh, good. At least you don't have to fly and deal with all that mess, right?
Well, I mean, I did fly in this morning. I just came from Bristol, Connecticut. I was out there doing something with ESPN, and I just came in, took a shower, and then came right over here.
Now, let's start with the mushroom. And everybody knows your UFC thing, which we'll get into. But with the mushrooms, when I think of mushrooms, I think of the psychedelics. That's what I've always thought. So then you guys come along, you got a powerhouse team. It's not just you. You got two other monsters in that league. So when you say, it's an extract or it's a functional mushroom, what does that mean?
Functional mushroom means that it's an adaptogen and it doesn't have any psychoactive effects, and what makes these mushrooms so good is the fact that, they're legal for one, but they have a range of things that they do for your body, from immunity, from neurological support, for mood, and just bringing your body at a total homeostasis. And that's something that, you can't really get from a lot of different things, different. I don't even like to call this a supplement, because at the end of the day, it's a food group that our body's just really not, we haven't been eating. We have like this mycophobia. So, it's just eating a food group that we kind of have neglected.
I like that it's a plant, because I remember we always talk about this, Walmart, quietly, Target, they went in there, they did that testing on all those vitamins and everything. And it was, I always forget Nature Valley. They wiped them all out because none of them had in what it said it was in. So when I see something that's made from a plant, I always think in my mind, well, this is some ancient stuff here. When there was no medicine, none of this other stuff.
Yeah, it's got, in Chinese, traditional medicine, it's got thousands of years of research. And also in Ayurvedic medicine, they have a lot of, thousands of years of research. So they've been really cultivating the knowledge and really using it for prescription basis. They use these mushrooms as doctors use their prescription pad to write out, some of these pharmaceutical drugs. So that's what, with these mushrooms, they have a systematic effect, meaning the fact that it treats the system versus treating a symptom. And, the drugs that we use from the pharmaceuticals, it treats one symptom, but it doesn't get to the root cause problem. And at the end of the day, that ends up causing more problems. So when you take these adaptogens, it gives your body what it needs. And it, it's pretty much tailor made for whatever your body's calling for. And that's one of the things that make these adaptogens, these mushrooms, so beneficial for the body. For me, once I retired from fighting, I was kind of foggy. I was kind of in a place where I didn't know, what was going to happen to my body, physically speaking. Towards the end of my career, I got to the point where I got diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury when I tried to get, cleared to fight in New York one time, and I almost wasn't able to fight again at all after that. But I was able to get cleared. But once I got closer to retirement, I started thinking like, what did I do to my body? Is there a way to bring it back? And then I started researching, and I seen an interview by Paul Stamets and Joe Rogan, and Paul Stamets was just, putting down the information on what these mushrooms can do. And I just started doing like some little biohacking and just trying it out, and it worked.
And you're so right about that, because if you would have went to the doctor, they would have just Band-Aided it.
Well, yeah, they probably would have gave me some psych meds or something like that, because...
You walk in like some Looney Tune, and you'd have like your little pill case from A to Z.
Oh, my gosh.
It's 1 o'clock, you got to take B, C, D.
Yeah, that's how it would probably be, and that's what usually happens as we age and we get older. But the thing about these mushrooms is the fact that, as we get older, our body just becomes more inundated with the toxins that we have in our environment, in our food, and all the things that, is not really good for the body. The things that gunk up the neurological system, the things that, mess up the stomach and stuff like that, the things that our body really can't process. And when it comes to being able to bring your body back and help your body digest and, help your neurological system, regrow neurons and things like that. These mushrooms, they do that. The lion's mane is really good for cognitive function, really good for, our regenerating, nerve cells and, You have the cordyceps, really good for lung health, really good for adrenal health, really good for oxygenating the blood. And, you have the turkey tail, really good for your gut, feeding a really good gut bacteria, and also with helping cancer prevention. And then you have reishi, that's really good for inflammation and just like total body rest and relaxation to really, bring your body down and bring the inflammation down in all areas. So it's so good to have these mushrooms, because what these mushrooms, ultimately do is it kind of resets your body in a way and allows you to start to feel good again.
So it regenerates.
It
regenerates bad cells
regenerate.
and everything else, unlike a pill would do. And the name you go to have too, because the name is crazy. I couldn't believe that is what it was. So I'll read that, Rob. That's so cool that you guys have the name. Like
the word
definition.
umbo is a geometric term used to describe both the raised center of a mushroom cap and the boss of the shield, equal parts natural and protective, fortifying you that you can run at any problem with strength to succeed and conquer the unknown.
That's powerful. That was slick.
Yeah,
Slick and powerful.
The umbo, yep.
Yeah.
The little cap on top of the mushroom.
That is so cool, because I would never think that.
Yeah, and that's a lot of people don't really realize, that until I explain it to them. Like, oh, okay, so you guys are pretty well thought out. But
hell yeah, if you think of that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. But with these mushrooms, the brands that we have, when we first started it, we came out with a really tasty bar that has like 2,500 milligrams of, it has lion's mane. Each of them has 500 milligrams of. There's lion mane.
Go to
it
our
has
shop.
reishi. It has turkey tail. It has cordyceps in it, and each has 500 milligrams. And when you eat this bar, not only does it just like taste like a candy bar, but it has these goodies in it, so you start feeling the effects. You start feeling pretty good. And I just fought about a year ago, and how I made my comeback and how I was able to have the energy to really put myself through the workout and the grind at like 42 years of age. I was taking the Myco Rise, which has a cordyceps in it, and rhodioprime and rhodiola in it, and this little mixture that I was doing, that one right there to the left, the Myco Rise, that one had me going. It had me going. It was able to help me, get to a point where I was able to train hard, but it didn't have me feeling racy. It was like a pre-workout without the raciness, and it allowed my body to, once I was done, to kind of rest and relax as well. And the Myco Rest as well was something that I was using as well to help with sleep. Now, if you have trouble sleeping, if you have trouble, you haven't dreamed in a while, you start taking this.
I can attest to that, because you sent me a couple of these, and I ate 2 of them, and I don't know how you are with sleep, but my sleep is shot.
Okay.
I'm one of those people that can't sleep.
I can attest for that.
The last 2 nights I ate one of them before bed, I was like, let's see if this shit really does anything.
Yeah.
Bro, I slept good.
Yeah.
That's with the 2.5 year old.
Did you get any of the packs, the little
I was just eating these. I got 5 of these. The sleep one.
Okay, so when the guys come back, I'm gonna have them bring some Myco Rise and the Myco Rest travel packs.
Yeah.
And they're, you take 2 at night right before you go to sleep, and I'm telling you, you're going to have the best sleep you ever had. I have people hitting me up like, "Yo, what's in that stuff, man? It's just crazy how I'm dreaming. I haven't had dreams, and I haven't slept this peacefully and this sound in so long." So it works.
And when you talk about the gut health, I always hear people talk about
that's
gut
a huge
health.
Thing.
Like, that's like gigantic. People don't realize, I guess, how important your gut health is, right?
Oh,
talk about that.
They have no idea how important the gut health is. When it comes down to it, what really happens is the disease, dis-ease, it starts in the gut. And when you're not having a healthy diet and you're feeding your body the bad foods, it's the unhealthy bacteria that kind of takes over, and the good bacteria, it doesn't. And also, you have like 75 to 80% of your immunity taking place in your gut. So
Really?
If you have nothing but filth and you don't have the proper, digestive things going on, then it's quite easy to see how quickly you can get sick. And, with the foods that we put in our body, let's be honest, if we're not eating like meat or, you know, something that comes from the earth, vegetables or fruit or something like that, you're eating man-made foods. Like, and these are not real foods. Yes, they taste absolutely amazing, but they're not real foods. Like, your body has to take extra steps to really break it down. And they have all these binding agents that has a hard time going through your digestive tract. And when you start to mostly consume those kind of things, that's when you start getting on this path where you start developing, you know, all kinds of unhealthy digestive issues, which ultimately results into, you know, just putrefaction of the body, and, you know, your body starts to it gets sick.
Now, let me ask this with the digestion one, right? You know, I think, I know everything's processed. Even when you think it's not, unless you go pick it out off,
Right.
you know, unless you shoot the cow or whatever, or the deer or whatever you want to eat, unless you shoot it, cut it, and cook it, I think it's all processed. Unless you pick the broccoli, I think it's processed in some way to last longer.
Yeah.
So when you take something like this with the gut thing, and, you know, we have had podcasts where you could prove that it causes cancer, heart disease, all this processed shit. When you take this, does that contradict all that processed food?
It doesn't contradict it, but it helps your body to have the healthy bacteria to break it down.
Oh, I see.
And that's something that becomes a problem when you don't have the healthy gut bacteria to the good gut bacteria to break these foods down, and then the food just kind of sits in the digestive system. And, you know, imagine food being left out. You know, our body is kind of, you know, it's hot, like at 98 degrees or whatnot, you know, so it's just sitting there, just festering and just, you know, not moving, and it gets stagnation, and that's where the problems come. You know, that's where the real health issues and the cancers and those kind of things come from.
I see. So it aids in the body breaking it down so it doesn't have to work as hard, and then it just sits there, which does lead to problems.
Right. And here's the thing about it. Once you start feeding the good bacteria, you're going to start craving healthier foods. That's the thing about it, because it's bad bacteria. They crave the bad foods. But once you start,
you have more of the
you
good.
You want the good foods,
because it's sending that neuron
message
up
to your brain. Yeah, because
right.
your stomach is your second brain.
Yeah,
and the gut and the brain connection is unbelievable. So when you start cleaning up your gut, it's crazy how it just elevates your mood. You know, and I feel like that's another reason why there's so much anxiety, so much depression, and so much all these different things. It's dietary. Yeah. And once you start taking care of some of these dietary issues and really start feeding your body the food that it needs, it's amazing how that just completely uplifts your whole everything about you. You know, you smile a little bit more, you feel happier, and then, you know, you start feeling your mood being elevated. You want to do more, you want to be more active, and it starts just changing you.
It's almost like a natural euphoria.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
It really is. Like, I don't eat meat anymore, and when I started to, like, when I first went into it, I went like crazy hard. I was only eating like fruits and vegetables. I was like a fruitarian.
Yeah.
And then, like, I had a feeling that I've never had before. Didn't even think it was possible, but it was just like, it was a euphoric feeling, just like breathing air. I just felt very happy, very alive. I wanted to do things, and it was absolutely amazing. And I still eat, you know, vegetables, and I'm still primarily plant-based, but I'm not solely eating only fruits.
And you know what's interesting? People don't get it with this whole vegetable thing, because, like, if I go to dinner or something, I'll have a steak or whatever, but for the most part, I mean, I'm not jacked like you, but I'm not a little guy under the shirt either.
Yeah.
I got an 8-pack. I got a little something. But I don't mess with that protein shake, and I don't eat a lot of meat. Yeah. And I feel way better. But, like, I'll eat I know, because I go to the guy, green peas. Mm-hmm. People don't realize how much protein is actually in green peas.
Yeah, and here's the thing about it. You know, a lot of the protein that's in vegetables is more bioavailable for your body, and that's something that, you know, we're not really taught about, you know, because the truth of the matter is the marketing thing gets us thinking that, you know, we're like a lion and we have the same acidity in our stomach as the true carnivores. You know, the truth of the matter is the fact that when we eat a lot of these meats and things like that, it just, takes a long time to go through our digestive system, and it doesn't break down all the way because we don't have the stomach acidity. Our stomach doesn't get to the right place where it can break all these down, so we can really extract all the protein and all the nutrients truly out of the food. But with some of the vegetables, it's more bioavailable. You know, some of the vegetables are harder to break down. There's a lot of leafy ones that can be harder to break down unless really chewed properly. But most of the vegetables, when you break them down and when you eat them, are, you know, really bioavailable when it comes to protein.
And I can see how the gut thing would work dramatically with more of a less of a meat diet, right?
Yeah.
A funny story. My mom had colon cancer, bad. And we took her, you know, everybody said she's going to die, she's going to die, she's going to die. I was in Philly at the time. And we took her to, you know, like these Chinese people know this shit. And that's not racist. They just know. You go over there, these guys live forever.
Yeah.
Okay? And the guy told her, it's because you're eating steak with pasta every night. You know, she was off the boat from Italy, so that's just, every single day it was steak and pasta. And they told her, it's the red meat. All that red meat you're eating is what caused this.
Yeah.
She listened to Let's face it. After a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice, either a great night or a great next day. That is until I found Z-Biotics. We all have busy lives these days and can't afford to waste a day stuck on the couch because of a few drinks the night before. Z-Biotics is the answer we've all been looking for. Z-Biotics pre-alcohol probiotic is the first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Z-Biotics produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it most. Just remember to drink Z-Biotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's of sleep to feel your best tomorrow. Order Z-Biotics now for your summertime barbecue, weddings, vacations, you name it. Go to zbiotics.com/MSCSmedia or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 15% off your first order when you use MSCS Media checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code, so you can stay prepared no matter the time or occasion. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're ever unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, head to zbiotics.com/MSCSmedia. Use the code MSCSmedia at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode. This episode is brought to you by Manscaped.com. Breaking news, Manscaped now sells beard products. That's right, they are once again revolutionizing men's grooming with brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. From a beard trim to a fresh shave, the technology behind Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shave your signature beard look. Now you can finally use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet by going to manscaped.com and using code MSCSmedia for 20% off and free shipping. No one likes a weird beard, so say goodbye to all the stubble trouble with Manscaped's Pro Beard Kit. It all starts with the Beard Hedger. This thing is a monster of fixing faces. First off, this cordless trimmer has a rotary wheel that gives you 20 hair cutting lengths, all with one guard. No more messing around in drawers, this color one, that color one, all with one guard. Plus, it's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower and avoid all that hair in the sink. The Pro Kit doesn't end there, though. First, there's the beard shampoo and conditioner. You need to remember your hair is different. Next, Manscaped's beard oil. Cap it off with beard balm. The Pro Kit also comes with 3 different gifts: a beard brush, comb, and scissors to ensure your beard is ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code MSCSmedia at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code MSCSmedia.
Think about, like, I get the meat thing. I hear people, that's like a controversy. People argue back and forth about, vegetarians and meat eaters. But what about fish? Like, I know fish apparently gets depending on where you're fishing and where the fish is coming from, but fish can be very good for the bodies, from what I hear. Yeah,
the fish can be good. The only problem with like fish, like you were talking about, is just the kind of waters you fish in and where it was coming from. If it has like any kind of metals in it, heavy metals in it, like mercury or whatnot. But fish is a good option. But here's the thing about it. I don't want to sit up here and just like, just trash people who eat,
Sure, yeah.
people who eat meat, because at the end of the day, you can eat meat and eat it in a way that allows you to, still be very, very healthy, and have your body still function at 100%. But it's all about, for me, like giving yourself a little bit of a break. You know what I'm saying? Like if you take, like, imagine if you like to eat meat a lot and you're like, okay, I eat meat with every meal. How about you take 2 or 3 days off? How about you take a week off? And that will give your digestive system a chance to really break down and kind of expel all the things that have been in the gut thus far, because we're big consumers, right? We like to consume a lot of things and that, but we're not really taught about eliminating, about things that help us consistently eliminate some of the toxins that we accrue just from, the food that we eat. Just imagine just, having a room and just bringing stuff in it, and you rarely take things out. At some point, no matter how well you organize it, it's going to be a mess. And that's what happens to our body. It becomes a mess because we're constantly putting things in, but we're not really focused on taking anything out. We're not focused on taking, supplements or anything that's going to help us expel some of this waste. And some people don't really work out, so they're not getting it from a sweat basis. So people are just kind of becoming very stagnant, and they're kind of rotting from the inside out.
You're right about that. You never hear about that. You never hear about it coming out.
Yeah.
Either my poop's hard or I had the runs, but you never hear about like a supplement, or I consider this a nootropic. I mean, maybe that's totally out of line, but it seems like a natural nootropic to me.
Yeah, the lion's mane definitely is. The lion's mane has so many good.
I was going to drill you about that one.
Yeah, well, the lion's mane is one of my favorite ones. Because it has such a huge benefit. Such a huge benefit cognitively speaking and neurologically speaking. And it does such a great job with just kind of, handling that part of it. And I feel like we're in a time right now where there's never been more neurological illnesses than there have been. And I feel as time goes on, it's going to get worse. And I say that because the things that we're putting into our body, the things that are, being, put into our food and these kind of things. And I don't want to be all conspiracy theorists and things like that, but the reality of the situation is the fact that our food supply is under attack when it comes to being able to have clean food without all these things in it that's going to inevitably cause some kind of problem down the road.
Oh, it's not a conspiracy.
No.
You know Okeechobee Steakhouse down here?
Yeah.
We had the owner, Ralph, in. It's not a conspiracy. That's a banging place out there.
Yeah.
He has to go to whoever to get meat because all these big meat companies that sell to Ruth Chris, all of them sold out to China.
Wow.
And the fish. Now, just so people know, right? Okeechobee's known.
Yeah.
It's not like celebrities go in there. He opened up a seafood joint and had to close it, not because he didn't have a line. He couldn't get fresh fish that he knew was fresh in Florida.
Wow, that's crazy.
So forget about the conspiracy. That's fact. And this is a guy that wouldn't lie about what color shoelaces he had.
Yeah, he went to.
He's not.
He would go to the fishermen, ask, for, the fresh catch, and they're like, we don't have any. And they're like, what do you mean? There's no fish out there or whatever? And it's like, well, no, we caught a bunch, but we sold it. I'm like, well, who'd you sell it to? And basically, without, not directly to China, but to a company that then would process that to China, and then basically it gets scooped up by them. They repackage it or do whatever they do. Who knows, right?
Bro.
We know. Clone it.
Clone that.
And then ship
2-for-1.
it back, and the consumer doesn't know that it was processed in China because they package it in the United States. So it's just packaged in the United States.
And this isn't like
No,
some guy
legit.
saying it. He proved it. He pulled it up.
Oh my gosh.
And the one company that
Smithfield,
that's the one he called out. So it's not a conspiracy. And Malone said that too, Dr. Robert Malone. So now you got two.
Wow.
So that just proves the point even more that you need something like this and I'm not just pushing this so hard because you're here. It's just I have a big interest in it.
Yeah.
Because you always hear extract. Okay. Well, to me, 99% of the extract is just marketing bullshit.
Right.
So that's why I really wanted to dig in. And I don't know a lot about it.
Yeah, the thing with these is the fact that when people see these, they're like, oh, it's a supplement. But it's more than that. And I say it's more than that because it's an entire food group that we just don't put into our body at all. For I can't say at all, but for the most part, people are not regular mushroom eaters. And when you're not consuming something, imagine people just stop eating vegetables. If they stop eating all vegetables, and it will tell a story about our health, as if right now it's telling a story about our health, because we're not using these natural mushrooms that come from the earth, that have all these different benefits and has all these different compounds that can help our body to be more vibrant and to get more years and to get more years of actual great health as well. I mean, that's the thing. People are like, oh man, you trying to live forever? And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to live forever. I don't know how long I'm going to live. Hopefully it's a long time. But at the end of the day, while I'm living, I want to feel good. I don't want to be all decrepit. I don't want to, not be able to play with my kids or not be able to go for a run or not do any of the things that I like to do physically speaking, because I'm a very physical person and that's my therapy. So without that, I don't know what would have happened.
You'd be a maniac, right? Now with the micro rise, just because I drink too many energy drinks, is there any way you guys could put that into a energy drink? Because I see them at the gas station, but I don't believe them. I think it's probably bullshit. Can you put that in a drink with caffeine?
We've thought about that. We've thought about adding coming out with a drink and stuff like that. But the thing about it is the fact that when you have all these SKUs, you gotta like bring them up, one at a time, and kind of let the line develop, and that's where I think that we're gonna go next, is with more drinks and more other things like that. But
with caffeine in it.
Yeah.
All right, dog.
With caffeine in it.
I'll buy 20 cases.
I'm gonna put a note in there, a little caffeine in it. But these SKUs that we have right now, we're in a process right now of just kind of elevating that even more, because we're a mushroom brand that kind of wants to highlight the athleticism, the athletic side, the active part of what we do. And I'm a very athletic person. Jake Plummer, great quarterback, very athletic as well too. And even Dale, he does jujitsu, very athletic person as well, very active. And we want our mushroom line to really, speak to that, speak to really what we feel after we get done from training and pushing our bodies to the limit. And we've done a really good job with that, with the micro rise and the micro rest, but we still feel like there's other areas that we can kind of hit. And I think in the next year or so, we're going to add more products that really speak to that. Now,
talk to me about the Lion one, right?
Okay.
Right, because by prescription, I'm a big you never hear of modafinil?
No.
Provisual? It's basically a cognitive thing, right? They prescribe it for narcolepsy, but it's not, like when you fall over and shit.
Yeah.
But, for nootropic purposes, like you taking, you're like, you're on point, without like ready to run through a wall. So when you take the Lion's Mane, I take it right now. What effect do I get? Or is it something you have to consistently take over time?
You have to consistently take it over time, but it all depends on like what your body's lacking. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like you may feel it and be like, dang, I feel a little bit more clear or whatnot. But you may have, some gunk in your body that may take a little bit of time for your body to feel the effects of it. But, you will feel the effects of it. This is the one that I started to use. I started to use Lion's Mane with this protocol that I got from Paul Stamets on that show that I was talking about with Joe Rogan, where I had the Lion's Mane and I used psilocybin and I had niacin. And I felt that. And I felt it in a way that was kind of weird at first, because I really never felt a supplement like that before. Like sometimes you take something like, is this placebo? Like, am I only feeling this because I believe that I'm feeling it? But with this, the gains were real, and I say that because my interest started changing. I started to be, for lack of better words, just smarter. Like I started I wanted to listen to, more intellectual things. I wanted to listen to classical music, and I was just really vibing on that level. And it started to open up something in me that I didn't really know that was real, you know, and I wanted to meditate, and I started to really get into the inside of me. And it was something that I didn't expect, but it was something that was unbelievable. And I'm like, dude, this stuff is really working. But then outside of that, on the performance and athletics side, you know, when you start to age in a sport like MMA, where you actually fight and punch, you see the openings, right? But you just can't seem to get there fast enough. And once I started to take this protocol, I started to not only be able to see it, but I was getting there, and I was even anticipating what they were doing next. And it was almost as if it helped me slow things down a lot. And the clarity that I had, it was unreal. It was profound. It kind of almost scared me at first because of the fact I didn't expect it to hit that hard.
See, that's what the modafinil does. You can almost expect. You know, like I used to box. Nothing like, I don't want no problems with it, but I used to box, and because I started taking them when I was younger. But with the modafinil, it was like that. I don't know how to explain. It's one of those things that's hard to explain.
Yeah.
But you were like, before you're there, you're ready for this or that. But then it sounds like the same thing happened with the combo. You anticipate it. You kind of know what's going to happen before it happens, and then you're kind of like, am I losing it? But then you didn't get hit.
Yeah.
Try to get hit, you know what I mean?
Do you think, though, like, and I'm not even close to this point, but, you know, we go back years in time, or maybe go to some other countries, I'm sure you've been around the world, that people seem like they're more in touch with their own bodies and the universe. You can add that in there, whatever you want to say, but like, we're not as in touch with our own bodies anymore. Like,
no.
It's just, you're medicated, you're told take this, take that, but you don't let your body heal yourself. Like, the mind has a lot of control over stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We're so disconnected from what's going on within, and it starts at a young age, where we kind of learn to believe that everything that's great is outside of us. Mm-hmm. You know, we never really learn that, you know, the true treasure that lies within. And once you truly discover it, you're just like, oh my God, I've been looking for me the whole time. Like, I've been searching my whole life, but I was searching for me. And when you find it, it's one of the best feelings in the world. But getting to that point is hard, because as you follow society, you start to follow a path that's more voyeuristic, and you start to try to align yourself with something on the outside, and you never make the mark. You're always quite off. And even if you are making a mark, you can't see that you're making a mark, because now that you see that mark, or you're close to hitting that mark, now you've started to look somewhere else. So it's always a moving target that you never can quite hit. And it breeds a feeling of just, at the end of the day, of just being unhappy.
At what point, though, did you realize, like, you know, the fights you were in, the toll it's taken on your body, mentally, physically, when did you realize, like, you know, this, I guess, dove into this and realized this stuff actually does help me? Like, when was like the aha moment, I guess?
You know, it was probably about 3 months after I retired. And I started doing the protocol, and, you know, I was still trying to find myself. You know, I say after I retired, I sat in my backyard, in my patio, just thinking about, what was this whole ride about? Like, what the fuck just happened? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was it all about? You know, what was this whole Sugar Rashad Evans? What was all that about? You know, and did it even matter? And all these questions that I just never thought to sit and ask myself before. And as I'm sitting there and I'm trying to asking myself these questions, I started getting answers. And these answers were coming from a part of me, a higher self. I don't even know what to call it, like this knowingness that is just there. And it was kind of schooling me, kind of taking me to school. And then I started to really, you know, take note of that. And I was like, man, something is going on. And that's when I started to realize that, it's what I've been taking. It's these mushrooms. It's the protocol that I've been on, and it's just me changing the diet and everything. But even changing my diet, that came after using mushrooms, so all of it was leading me to helping me discover myself. And it was profound.
I'm really good friends with Bass Rutten. I talk to him all the time.
Oh yeah, Bass.
yeah, he's my boy, man.
Yeah.
All the time. I was just talking to him yesterday, and when he retired, he was depressed as could be, because he it, man. And he went that route too, and it changed him. I mean, he was just sitting there, depressed as could be, drinking. He'll tell you, you know. And then he went that route with the mushrooms and started with that, and boom, it just something clicked with him. And he was like, he was like you, like, what is all this for?
Yeah.
And then he got into it, like he was saying, and changed his diet as well, worked out differently, came out with, the O2 trainer and everything else, and all of that came from that. And everyone I know that did the psychedelic, the psilocybin with extract, the whole combo. I know a guy that came back and he cut all his friends off. Everyone.
Oh, yeah.
And he made more money that year than he ever did in his entire life. He was just focused.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens. Like there comes a point where you start to rearrange your life, and you start to rearrange your friends unknowingly. And it's not something that you try to do. It's the fact that your interests no longer align. They're no longer aligned anymore. Like one of the things that happened to me with also not eating meat was I stopped drinking alcohol. And it wasn't something that I was trying to do, because I loved drinking alcohol. I loved having a drink and going to kick it with my boys at the bar. That was like one of my favorite things to do. But when I started on this journey, it was just like I just lost interest in it.
I know.
Completely lost interest. And it was like,
me too.
It was something that I was like, dude, what is going on? What is going on? But back to what you're saying about with Boss, coming out that phase where you're a fighter, for me, I love to fight. Like I love aspects of fighting. I loved it. But what I loved about fighting is I loved the fact of me facing me. And that was the scariest and the funnest part about the whole experience, was me facing me. Which one of me was going to show up? Which one of me was going to win that mental battle and make it to the cage? Was it the one that's kind of tentative and shy and a little apprehensive, or it's the one that's badass and believe he's the best fighter in the world? And always that journey along the way, it kind of, dovetailed in what I was going through in my life at the time. And I was able to, figure myself out, figure out my past traumas. And that's what ended up happening. Like I started fighting because, I was a little, I liked violence a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I like to fight. All right.
Like to fuck people up.
I like to fight. I like to fight. And, as I started to dig deep and started to realize where it was coming from and where all the fuel of that was coming from, I started to heal myself through fighting. And when I got done, or got to the point where I didn't feel like I had any more of that to pull from anymore, the fighting spirit was just like, okay, you're good now. And fighting became hard after that. It became a lot harder than it was ever before, because that energy that I was having to help me to heal myself was one that it just didn't have a place in the mindset that I had, because I've sorted a lot of things out. But it was going through the fire, going through the fear of what's on the other side of that competition that made fighting everything for me.
But you know what it sounds like? Just because now that I know, like, you did the whole psilocybin, that whole time in fighting, it sounds like you were just trying to find yourself.
Absolutely.
The whole entire time.
The whole time.
And then when you go back in time, we're in this materialistic world, but other civilizations were more in touch with like nature. And I always say this, people laugh at me, but they don't understand until you do some psilocybin.
Yeah.
You get in touch with like grass.
Yeah.
You look at the plants and you see them blowing shit. And it's not a joke. Like they know how to blow it. And you realize there's so much life around you. And then the materialistic things that we're caught up in this life don't really mean as much because there's a whole nother side. Then you find self. And then that's when, that's when it becomes real weird.
Yeah.
And, I was real hesitant for a long time, but I just kept seeing it happening. I thought I'm going to be that one dude that doesn't come back. You know what I mean? And I tried, and then I came back and then they were all, and I'm not just saying this because you're here. They were like, I do it every, 6 months or something like that. They were looking for just because it says mushrooms on it, maybe, you know what I mean? Something to eat and take like you guys have. But what it does is wild.
Yeah, it what it does is really wild because there is a part of ourselves, a big part of ourselves, a massive part of ourselves that we have literally forgot. And we've forgotten it because we nurture what this materialistic reality presents to us. This is what we care about. This is what we put our focus on. Every single day, we live and we die for it. We suffer for it. Everything we do is suffering and trying to gain these material things that at the end of the day, they don't matter because you can't take any of it with you. Mm-hmm. You can't take any of it with you. And at the end of the day, only thing you're left with is yourself. And then when you have to sit there in that moment, when you hit that realization that it's just me, then that's the moment where you're just like, dude, what have I been doing my whole life? And it's a scary feeling because
I just said that to him today.
You don't know where to start.
No, you don't. It's crazy. And I mixed it with NAD, not the bullshit in the US.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother story. But when you do it the right way and it's real shit, bro, it's the same thing. You take the psilocybin, with the mushroom, and bro, your mind is completely different, and you start looking back, and you're like, what did I do?
Yes.
Like, we just talked about that this morning before you got
here. I'm telling him, I'm like, and I had a dream with this shit. I ate last 2 nights, I ate the bar to sleep.
Yeah.
So now I was dreaming about shit too. So then I'm waking up even thinking even more. And it's just the weirdest thing. And then you kind of have a regrets of some things in some ways, and that's probably the initial toughest part. But you find yourself, and then I found that I appreciate things more. Mm-hmm. Like you come in here, okay, it's a podcast, okay, however many views, whatever. But I get to meet somebody really cool and like you appreciate the person for the person. Like I saw you went to Jerusalem.
Yeah.
So like somebody might want to UFC, mushroom. Well, later, I want to know about Jerusalem. Like it just changes the way you think.
It really does, man. And like you said, it's one of those things that once you break through and you get to the other side, at first it seems as if like, man, I got so much regret. But then something crazy happens. If you stay on that path, you start to forgive yourself. And that's where the true healing comes in, because a lot of the feelings that we have that are negative towards ourselves, it's us not being able to forgive ourselves. It's us not being the friend, that we, not being a friend to ourselves, right? We're our worst enemy, and we say the worst things to ourselves, and it's okay because I'm saying it about me. But at the end of the day, it still hurts, and it still causes the same kind of trauma as if somebody else said it. But sometimes it's worse because it's you saying it to you, and you're saying it all the time,
putting yourself down.
Yeah. And once you get through that phase and you just like, I got to forgive myself, and the process of forgiving yourself, it's a hard process because it's a steady process. It's kind of like releasing a valve. You kind of release it slow, and then the more you release, the more you can release. But you're not going to be able to let it all go at one time because you're still going to hang on to some things, and that's okay. but it's a process, and you have to be patient with yourself in that process. And speaking of when I went to Jerusalem, I went there for business, but I went there and just kind of really just kind of dove into the culture.
Can you pull up his Instagram, because you have some pictures that are really cool.
Yeah, I just dove into the culture, and it was something that was
because they're not into the whole material, this, that.
Nah,
the other, right?
I was really surprised. I was really surprised at just scroll
down,
the Jewish community, and just how they received me, and how they were.
Right there.
Yeah,
right
there it is, right there.
Click on that. Yeah, so hit the one.
Yeah, so I was there. I went to go see, and that guy right there, that's the Jewish Michael Jordan. His name is Tamir.
Oh shit.
Yeah. They actually gonna make a movie about him. But that right there is King David's tomb.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah. So this is right here is on the wall, and right there that building up top, that's Al Aqsa. But that's the Wailing Wall. And you go there and you just pray, and people put letters in there, and
That
but
is so
Wow,
cool.
that is cool.
yeah, that's I mean, you just felt history right there. It was one of the most amazing experiences.
What did it feel like in your body? Like, what did you feel from it?
I felt a crazy energy. I felt an energy. And I don't want to say crazy like it made me crazy, but it was a surreal energy that I didn't think that I would feel there. I didn't think I'd be like, oh my gosh, wow, this place actually it felt like a holy place. And the energy is there because everybody comes there and they worship. On one side, you have the Jews over there worshiping, and on the other side you have the Muslims over there worshiping, and it's
Nobody's fighting.
Nobody's fighting. And in Old Jerusalem, they have churches, they have Christian, and they also have mosques there in Old Jerusalem.
See, I think that's cool that they can do that.
But I never knew that. Listening, watching the news on TV, I never knew about the just how they were all kind of joined together. And I went to this YMCA in Old Jerusalem, and it had right there, it had a mosque, it had a church, and it had a synagogue, and it was like
No issues.
Can
you imagine that here?
I mean, I was like, wow. But the people there for me were very special, because they were so cool, man. They were so cool. They were really cool people, very accepting. They were asking how I was doing and really cared, and not just for like a conversation filler. It was a great experience.
Jerusalem used to have the best mushrooms on the planet back in the day. I mean, I believe that that's how we evolved.
I mean,
you tell me between DMT and the mushrooms that they were growing over there, that's probably why they're so happy and nice.
Absolutely.
No, really. But in reality, if back then when there was no guns and you had a spear, who's going to have the balls to go up to a bear or a lion to feed your family?
Right.
But if you're on some good mushrooms and that DMT is active, now the animal doesn't smell your pheromones, right?
Right.
So now that animal doesn't know if you're just a little skinny human being or you're like as big as him.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big part of how we evolved. But they had the best shit over there, boy.
I mean, I can definitely see that. I mean, just being over there, there was something special that happened there. There was definitely something that special that happened there, and that would be something though. That would be something. If I found a mushroom over there, I would definitely have to eat that holy mushroom.
I know you're a UFC guy. I know you're a big time guy. But if you just a little piece,
I'll have to eat that holy mushroom.
You bring one of them over here, boy.
I mean, they say that's what the prophets and Jesus. They say that's. They took mushrooms, man.
Well, whether it's real or not, they wrote some good shit.
Now, when you guys
they made a lot of money off.
When you guys started getting involved with this and your business partners, and you started, getting the Umbo going, any pushback? Any people saying, you're crazy? Why you doing this? This is bullshit, or not really? People embraced it.
No, people embrace it. The main obstacle that we have is just kind of educating people and kind of bringing them on a level where they understand what this is. And they understand what mushrooms is, because they think that all mushrooms are all psychedelic, right? So when you tell them about mushrooms, they're like, oh man, I don't know, man. I ain't trying to trip, man. I'm kind of scared to trip, man. I'm scared of that. And it's like, well, there's that, but that's not what we have here. Eventually one day we would love to be able to have some psychedelic mushrooms for people to consume, but right now we're going to take some baby steps, right? We're going to get them some functional mushrooms, which we believe has just as much, if not more, of the same benefits as, psychedelic mushrooms. So there's a whole elemental side of just kind of bringing people along, of helping to understand like what this product is and why they need it in their body. And the best way to say it is the fact that, it's a whole entire, food group that we're just neglecting.
Yeah.
And once you start putting it in your body, you will feel the benefits just as you would feel the benefits if you never eaten vegetables and all of a sudden you started eating vegetables.
I can be a firm thing on that. I hate mushrooms. Like, on anything. The only thing I'll eat, my grandmother used to make spaghetti sauce, and if the mushroom was in the spaghetti sauce, I could do it. But my uncles used to go, from Pennsylvania, we lived more in the Pocono Mountain area, and they lived, the forest around. They used to go out at a certain time of the year and pick mushrooms, a bighorn mushroom, I can't remember the name of it, and they would cut them up and they would put them into spaghetti sauces and all stuff like that. I think as a kid I was just traumatized. I hated mushrooms.
Yeah.
But I know there's so many good things, and I guess it's just getting over. But I guess when you have supplements like this, you're not really tasting like a mushroom, right? Like the same taste as if I picked up a mushroom and ate it.
Yeah, like in a supplemental form, you're not gonna feel, you're not gonna taste it like in a capsule.
Yeah.
If you have have you had the bars?
No.
You eat these bars, you can be like, I like mushrooms.
Really?
One of those bars, yeah. Have one of the dairy-free ones. I'm telling you, you're gonna love some mushrooms.
Tab for them, because you have on Instagram for the company.
Yeah.
You got he's got the Mushroompedia.
Yeah.
It's cool as shit, man.
Yep.
Scroll down, because then you could break down like kind of what you could see it. Scroll. It's like it's pretty go down pretty quick. Now, all of these are these ones that you.
This is what's in it here?
No, keep going down it.
Yeah, that's what's in the one you're eating.
I want them to go to the Mushroompedia. It's so cool. Now, you have to consistently stay with this, right?
Yeah, just like,
anything
else.
Right
like
there. Start with that one. Okay, so break this down for me.
Yeah, so you have the reishi. It's good, really good for gut, bacteria, whole body, realignment type thing. And then you have, the shiitake. The shiitake is, really good for, brain fog, adrenal function, and also energy. And then you have right there the tremella, skin moisture, cognitive function, healthy cholesterol, fighting inflammation, and immune function. And that's the thing with these mushrooms, is it has such a wide variety of things that it help your body with. And that's why these are adaptogens, because you may not be lacking in some of these areas, but it adapts to what your body needs, and it brings it to a level where you're at homeostasis. And that's what these mushrooms try to do. It balances your body out. It balances out your cortisol level, so you're not, overstressed. And when you get overstressed, you have too much inflammation, and bringing down the inflammation in the body is one of the key things you can do to keep the body healthy. Inflammation is a huge problem, but with some of these mushrooms, it helps out tremendously.
Go to the next one. Would you say anti-aging too?
Oh, 100%.
Oh, shit. You're gonna have a lot of women buying this shit.
100%.
And guys on the DL.
Yeah, it's and here's the thing about it. It's cellular. It's cellular anti-aging. So it gets to your cells, it replenishes those cells, and it makes your cells healthy, because we're nothing but a bunch of cells compiled. And you have to really take care of those cells. You have to feed those cells. You have to make sure the cells are being able to, live and not, multiply in an unhealthy way, which causes cancer and those kind of things. And it's all about cellular health. And when we start moving towards understanding cellular health, we're going to start moving towards better health.
Go to the next one. My friend takes that turkey trail, by the way, and he said it's unbelievable. Like, I don't really have a gut problem. I didn't realize, like, it's good to take anyway.
Yeah.
He would get heartburn like crazy and bitch and moan all the time. And he doesn't have heartburn anymore.
Taking those mushrooms, huh?
The ones, your turkey trail one.
Yeah, the turkey tail.
Yeah.
Oh, the turkey tails
Tail,
is my favorite one. That's one that I would say, if you're a female, you know, or, you know, even a middle-aged man like myself, you know, where you got to get those prostate checks and all those kind of things. When you start taking turkey tail, it, you know, we can't make any claims about, oh, it, you know, it prevents cancer, but it helps with you know, fighting cancer cells. There's a lot of research on it. You know, as a company, those are not the claims that we can make, and I'm not making those claims. I'm just saying that, you know, there's a lot of research that talk about the alignment of what it does to help fight with cancer. And even there's a lot of oncologists now that, you know, tell people who are on chemotherapy, start taking some turkey tail, because not only does it help with cancer cells, but it also helps with breeding that good gut bacteria. And those who have been on chemo, you know, they have a very bad appetite in their stomach. They have a hard time and a lot of stomach issues because their gut bacteria has been all, you know, has been altered.
You know, more people die from chemo than cancer. That's how bad
I believe 100% that.
They could really probably give a good combo of this.
Yeah.
And it would do more than the chemo.
Absolutely. And even those people taking antibiotics and been on antibiotics for a long time, you know, antibiotics kill bacteria, you know, good bacteria and bad bacteria. And taking something like turkey tail will help breed back the healthy, good gut bacteria and help bring the body back around.
I think that's what killed my mom, because she had I wish I would have known about this then. She kept getting bladder infections from her stint. And then she'd be peeing all the time and everything, but they just kept pounding her with, you know, BS. And I think over time, just amoxicillins weren't working anymore, built up immunity. I mean, how many can you give the woman?
Yeah.
And I mean, where this would have naturally done it.
Yeah, and it would have brought our body in balance, right? And that's the thing. That's the thing. So we have to realize that our bodies heal itself. We get a cut. A few days later, we get a scab. So what happens on the outside, it happens on the inside. But just like that cut on the arm, it only heals when the area around it's clean. If the area is not around it clean, then it's going to get infected. But when you keep the area around it clean, then the body heals it. Same thing that happens eternally. Once we clean the body on the inside, and once we bring out all the gut, then it's easy for the body to heal itself and replenish itself.
And the problem is, and the reason why I'm just drilling this down everybody's throat, is because these doctors, all they care about is that insurance money. 95%, unless you're lucky enough to find a real dude. I found a real dude. But unless you're lucky enough to find a real guy, they'll just pump you with whatever they read in their book 50 years ago. That does nothing.
Yeah, because, I mean, the doctors are educated by the pharmaceutical industry.
And getting paid by the pharmaceutical industry.
And that's the contradiction in health, right? Because how can I truly trust somebody to want to see me healthy and believe that they're there to make me healthy if they only get money if I'm at my worst? You know what I'm saying? So you see the part that's kind of like, you know, it's kind of a slippery slope there, because they benefit from you not feeling well. They need you to not feel well in order to have business. And how do I go to somebody that's their motive, right?
Right. And you know it is.
Yeah, it's I mean,
unless you know them personally and you spend time with them, and you know, like the doctor, dude, he was he was big time. But he was done dealing with insurance. Now imagine these balls. He says, that's it. I've had it with the insurance crap, because every time I write the prescription I know that works one time, I get killed by the insurance companies. Boom. I'm moving cash only. Took the risk. In Palm Beach, he did it.
Wow.
Didn't lose one patient.
Wow.
If anything, got bigger. Real doctor.
See that, and there's the thing.
But that's one in a
there's
gazillion.
not a lot of real doctors, and that doctor had to take time to educate himself outside of the system, you know, and that becomes a problem, because a lot of these doctors, they get to the point where they're making that money. Some got to pay back these loans and whatnot, and they just get to making this money, And a lot of times it's not even malicious speaking. It's just trust in the system, trust in the pharmaceutical system. And at the end of the day, when you have these trillion-dollar pharmaceutical companies getting sued for billions of dollars for lying about the effects of
Killing
other
how many
products,
people?
killing so many people.
80 billion and you never hear.
Yeah, and you never hear about it. You never hear about it. So there's so much power on that side. And it's like most doctors don't even think to cut and look into that kind of thing. They don't think to just dig into that kind of thing because, you know, they paid a lot of money for the education, you know, but the books were written by, you know, these people who lie for profit.
Straight up. I mean, that's just how it is. And then how did, you know, and we keep staying on this, but I believe in it. You know what I mean? I've seen it work. What's funny is my guy that takes the gut one, he gets heartburn from Viagra. You know what I mean? So he takes it with the Viagra so to get the heartburn. Kind of funny, right? But it works. It works for him. Hey, whatever you got to do, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, how do you tell somebody, hey, because all we know is, oh, you go to the doctor, you go to the doctor. Oh, yeah, take your kid there and get 19 vaccines. And, you know, when they're 30, they got some type of problem. Oh, this, that, the other. You know, how do you tell somebody, hey, look, you know, doctor might not always be the best choice nowadays. Well, you know, you can do this or that.
That's the hard point. I won't mention name because if they watch the podcast, but let's just say a friend. No, good story actually. She was diagnosed with lupus.
I thought you were gonna write out a doctor.
No.
I'll say
no. I just don't want to say a person's name, so they want it
right.
out there. But she was diagnosed with lupus. And, you know, they told this medication, you got to take this, and you got to take this, and you got to take this, and it you know, we'll never cure lupus, but we'll be able to contain it. And she says, well, aren't there alternatives? And they said, well, no, there's no alternatives. And so she did her own digging and, you know, went online and looked at podcasts and listened to that and listened to this. She changed her entire diet where she basically grinds up greens and all of makes smoothies. So she's basically on a smoothie diet, but of just all fresh vegetables. No word of a lie, goes back to the doctor for a checkup, and the lupus is basically gone.
Wow.
And the doctor looked at her and he's like, what? And she's explaining to what she's doing that the doctor now is changing his ways, the way he medicates, which is a good thing. But I thought that was powerful because I was like, powerful. She went off and said, fuck this, I'm not doing this. And she did her own thing. And I think other people should listen to podcasts like this and say, it's not saying you're challenging the ruler, but just look and see if there's things out there that may be more beneficial for you before you go down that road of just medication and medication and medication. But
yeah, you're absolutely right, man. I feel like COVID woke up a lot of people as far as, you know, the misgoings on in the medical industries. But I feel like, you know, there's still a ways away. You know, we've always been told to just blindly trust doctors, and that's something that it's hard to shake. You know, doctors do a great job of treating trauma, an excellent job of treating trauma. But when it comes to internal medicine,
PCP,
it's really, you know, it's hit or miss. You may get lucky, you may have something that works, but you know, you very well could die. I mean, I think the third leading cause of death is doctors. So, you know, it's and this is not to bag on doctors, but more or less the whole medical understanding that we've come to grow up as knowing as being, you know, unflappable, 100% true in every single aspect. And what I've discovered through just my journey with just kind of discovering health was you got to make this journey personal. Mm-hmm. You got to really do the research yourself, because the reality of the situation is you can be like, oh man, I don't have time for that. But one day you're going to be sat down and you're going to have time. Whether it's because the doctor says, hey, you physically can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, you're at their mercy. So at some point, you're going to have to deal with the elephant in the room, which is taking your own health in your hands. And that's one thing that we really pride ourselves on in Umbo, is just having people take their health back into their own hands, having people start to ask questions, having people start to research, what are they putting in their body? What am I putting in my body? And it's crazy when you start to really be conscious of what you put into your body, your overall consciousness just starts to go up higher because you're paying attention and not just being a consumer, not being a useless eater. You're eating with purpose.
Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, and they look at me like I'm nuts. I say, you're really going to take that and listen to that idiot? Like, you could just eat one of these and you're going to be fine. Look, I can show you 10 people. You know, it's so hard. They think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But speaking, but you know how bad it is? So my friend's in jail for weed. Of all things, weed. They are offering $35 on your commissary to get food to get the vaccine.
Oh, man.
Now, how crooked is that?
It's criminal.
And that's just to go into the point that whatever you believe about it, it doesn't really matter. It's just that you're offering somebody money to take a drug. You know what I mean? That's insane. Like, do research. Just take 10 minutes to do research on whatever it is.
I mean, or you don't even have to do research, but just look at logic and say, wait, when have they ever paid me to take anything?
The jail yet?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, they never paid me to take anything before. They never tried to coerce me to take anything before. What's different about this? What's not adding up? One of these things are not like the other type of situation, you know? And those are the questions that people really got to start asking themselves. But going down this path is a journey of awakening. And we all have a moment that we all go through that journey of awakening. We all have that process, and that's what this life is about. This life is about realization. Yeah. Realizing truly what's really inside of this body. Because we're not this body. I cut your arm off, you're still going to be you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, I can cut you to pieces. You're still going to be you. So if you're not your body, then what are you? And when you start to really ask yourself that question and you start going down that path, a lot of things change. Life just seems different.
It's that old saying, you are what you eat, right? Like, you always heard that.
Yeah.
You kind of are what you eat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now with CTE, you know, but I never understood this, that now all of a sudden it's this big thing. You know, like back in, like, we always talk about this. Like, you know, guys would play football with one guard on and there was no, you could hit any way you wanted. Didn't when UFC first started, I mean, it was brutal shit, right?
Yeah, it was very brutal.
You never heard anything. Boxing, you had the Muhammad, but not like crazy. I mean, Foreman, somehow he made it through with that girl and made a ton and still speaks well. But now you hear about it a lot more for whatever reason. Do any of these help and aid with that? Because that's a huge thing. You know,
I can only speak for myself.
Sure.
And I would say it helped for me. You know, I got diagnosed with a frontal lobe injury, and I went to see the doctor from the movie Concussion in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I went to go see him, and he diagnosed me and he checked it out, and what it ended up happening, they say it was something that happened before I fought, and I had like my first MRIs from 2005, and you can see it on the image there. But he said it did get a little worse, so there was some kind of further deterioration from it. But I was able to still compete. But when I started taking these supplements, I felt a difference. And then the next time when I got an MRI, because I had to fight, recently, there was nothing of concern on the MRI. There was no like, oh, you can't fight. There was no, I didn't have to have a special note that showed that I had really? So, wow. It seemed to have worked itself out in a way. And
unless you got some genie in a bottle.
I don't know what else it could be, but it really helped me out. And I feel like it could really help a lot of other people out too, because one of the main things that it does is that it helps with inflammation. and it also helps with neural growth for your cells. And regrowing your nerve cells is really something that there isn't any pharmaceutical medication that can do that, because with all these pharmaceutical medications, they have these binding agents, and these binding agents are made so they can patent it. So they can say this is my drug based on A, B, and C, but it's the binding agents. And these binding agents, they don't leave the body. They have a hard time leaving the body because they're not natural. Anything that's not natural, your body can't use. So it just kind of stays there in this loop of just, am I going to get expelled, or is going to come out me eliminated in some kind of way? And sometimes there really isn't nothing that can pull it out of your body.
No, they banned everything that came from animals.
Yeah.
There was a lot of good drugs that came from animals that worked like a charm. Like if you had thyroid problems, if you needed rotator cuff, there's a thing called a flu top. Okay, 1 in 1,000 owls croak. Okay, but you save, hundreds of people from having to get surgery. Literally, it's like 10 shots of a flu top. They banned it because they have to kill an owl. So then they make a synthetic one, to go into your point, that is man-made, some bullshit to make more money on.
Yeah.
And then, you just go down the rabbit hole of that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, getting something that's going to pull these things out of your body is really one of the main functions that I do on a continuous basis. Like, I'm always detoxing. Like, a lot of the supplements that I take outside of the turkey tail, they're detoxing, supplements like, sea moss, it has some nutrient benefits, right? Has 92 of the 102 minerals and stuff that your body needs, but it has this detoxing agent where it kind of flushes your body out. And I take diatomaceous earth and, those kind of things. It pulls out some of the heavy metals in your body and things that you just get from just being in the environment.
I know, you're an athlete, but what's your normal like diet / supplement / even like workout routine? Sauna, no sauna? Like what are you doing throughout your day? Like, give me a typical day.
And how many hours to sleep too, if I could.
Yeah. Give me your typical day in the life of a normal day in the typical life of Rashad Evans.
So I don't eat breakfast in the morning. I don't eat until after my first workout, and typically speaking, I work out around like 10:30, and that goes for like a couple hours, and then after that, I'll have something to eat, and then the first meal I have will be a little bit more hearty than the rest of the meals that I have the rest of the day, but it will be it may be some carbs, like something like that, but some fruit, or even maybe some vegetables, something like that, and it'll have some kind of protein aspect of it with concern to the vegetables and things like that. And then later on that day, I may get another workout in. I may do like a lift or something like that. And in between it, I'll snack on some nuts, some fruit and some things like that. Whatever I'm hungry. I only eat typically when I'm hungry. I don't eat just to eat, So then after that, I'll do a workout. Then after my workout, I'll eat something again. And then the next time I eat, it will be a little lighter, it may be some cooked food. It may not be some cooked food, but it'll be along the same lines of what I ate in the afternoon. And then I'll be done. I'll be done eating for the day. I was eating only once a day, but now I'll eat twice a day now. And I like to go to sleep with my body in a fasted state. So there's a supplement that I take at nighttime too. It's called Haritaki, and that's an Ayurvedic herb. And what that does is it just pulls out all the nasty toxins out of your blood. It cleans your blood out. It cleans out your digestive system. So when you wake up in the morning, you pass some crazy things out that you didn't even know you had inside of you, right? And it just revitalizes you. So then when I wake up in the morning, I'm feeling fresh. But I've recently started to implement more cooked foods because I've been on the road more, and trying to eat a certain kind of way when you're on the road can be very, very tough. So sometimes
that's hard.
So sometimes I'll have like some pasta or something like that, and some things I I don't necessarily like to eat a lot of pasta, even though I love pasta, because when I eat pasta, I get fluffy.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I get fluffy kind of quick, but it's just so damn good. You know what I'm saying? But that's typically what I eat on a typical basis.
What about sleep-wise? Are you sleeping in a typical good day? How many hours of sleep do you get?
I usually probably about I get 8 hours. I get 8 hours. But with this supplement, the Haritaki supplement, it makes you wake up earlier because you're rested. Like sometimes I wake up at like 6 o'clock and I'm fully rested. Even sometimes before that, and I'm like, I'm fully rested and I can get up and attack the day if I wanted to.
Is that it because it got you in the REM?
Yeah, it gets you deep into REM, so you're getting like.
So you got what you needed.
I got what you need.
Whether it's 8, 6, 5.
Right, and you wake up feeling recharged.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you wake up.
What's that called again?
It's called Haritaki, Haritaki.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm writing that one down. Now, when you were fighting, where did you get the drive from? You know, everybody gets like that crazy drive from somewhere. Like I know we had talked before. You know, you just like violence, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, like to fight. But that's one thing. But to get the drive to go all the way to where you're in the Hall of Fame, bro.
Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Where did that drive come from?
Life.
Just life.
Life. You know, I didn't have the easiest upbringing. You know, I had a great mother. She did great by me. But you know, there's 7 of us, and you know, things were tough sometimes. Things were tight, and you know, there's a lot of resentment and things that I just kind of held inside of me. You know, and you know, there's a part of me that just I enjoy the suffering. And I truly enjoy suffering. I enjoy the pain of it. I like it. It makes me feel alive, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. I love the pain of it. But when I first started fighting, I was working in the hospital, and part of my job was to put the bodies into the morgue. I was a security guy, and after 5 o'clock, the pathologist went home, and it was up to the security guards to get the bodies that came in from, you know, like an ER or like a trauma situation. We had to put the bodies and catalog them into the morgue, and we had to also pull the bodies out and, you know, leave them there for viewing if somebody had something traumatic and they need to identify a body. And, you know, if you had to harvest the body, like they come in and they harvest and take pieces from the body. So through doing that,
I was gonna say, what kind of, what does that leave you with? I mean, I heard you make a ton of money doing that, though.
Yeah, I mean, I made decent money, but you know, it left me with.
Yeah, like where's your mind go when you're looking at death constantly?
It goes to life.
Life.
It goes to life, and it goes to how am I gonna make this worth it?
I get it,
because I know it's only a matter of when, where, and why, and how, right? And how am I going to make that matter? Because when I'm putting these people into the morgue, they're just a number now. They have no name, and they're just a number. And I put them in there, and I'm just like, damn. Like sometimes people die just doing the dumbest shit, and you're just like, life is fragile. It was really, really fragile. People just died all the time, and I'm putting these bodies into the morgue, and I'm feeling their backs as I'm putting them in. Their back is all warm, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy was just alive a few minutes ago. And there's times where I came into the ER, and part of my job was I would have to take the belongings of whoever came in. So I would be there when they have like a level 1 trauma, and they're working on the patient. And I've been there a couple times and just watched people just die.
I bet your sleep was great around that time.
Oh my gosh. It got to the point where at some point I got desensitized to it.
Yeah.
I got desensitized to it, but the impact never left me. The impact meaning the fact that how am I going to make this day count? How am I going to make this worth it? Because I know at some point that's going to be me.
Yeah.
And that really forced me to go hard. So I would get home from work, because I worked the midnight shift, and I'll get home and I'll start running. and I'll run up this hill, and I'll run it, and I'll race my dog, and I'll just start training like a madman, and then take a little nap, and then wake up, and then train again before I had to go back to work. So it just kind of bred this mindset that like, I'm gonna do this shit. Like I'm going to do this because I already know,
It's inevitable.
It's inevitable. So I got to do it.
I get it. So instead of becoming a psychopath and like seeing all the death, you just got shit. This is real. I don't got time. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna can make everything count.
That's exactly
That's
it.
awesome because some people go off the handle with that. They walk around like stooges. They got that film on their eyes
Yeah.
after that. What a racket that is, though, huh?
Oh my goodness.
What a racket that morgue is. Hey, would you like a $100,000 casket? You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, that's the biggest racket in the world, man.
Put me in the ground. That's
Dude,
what
that's
we're meant
what
to
I'm
be.
saying.
Let
I mean,
evolution happen.
Me and my buddy Dell was just talking about this. He was just talking to me about an experience that he had that kind of like downloaded some knowledge, talking about, you don't need to have a casket. Just kind of wrap your body and put it back to the earth, because at that point, your body's going to be feeding the earth and it's life, right? The cycle of life. It's like the cycle of life kind of ends in a sense on a physical level with us because we're locked in these caskets. You know what I'm saying?
But that's not what's supposed to happen.
No,
we're
get back
supposed
to the earth.
die, get back to the earth, and let evolution happen because that other animal or insect, it sounds crazy, but it eats us. But that's what is meant to happen.
That's what's meant to happen.
That's what I say, bro. I don't want no casket, no nothing. Just put me in the ground.
Like
really?
Me too,
my
man.
My dad says the same thing.
Yeah, that's
the
the
same thing.
Yeah, I want to go the natural way.
But see, the thing about it is the fact that there's only certain states that you can actually get buried.
Yeah, like that.
And like that,
Fucking put me in the backyard. Do it on a weekend. Do it on a weekend.
Yeah,
I used to get shit done without a permit on the weekends.
It's funny you talked about,
I'll find some girl that hates me enough
working.
to
I used to work in the news, and I worked early morning shifts sometimes, and nothing good happens in the early morning. So I would come up to scenes where I'd pull up, and the police are just showing up, and there's a dead body right in front of me. And, I watched a guy one time, unfortunately, burned to death in a car. I watched it happen, and I couldn't do anything.
That's a bad way to go.
And, it took its toll on me over the years. It's just, I could still see, it. And eventually I got out of the news for a lot of those reasons. But, yeah, you took that to a good level because that can go the other way easily.
Oh.
When you see it, you do become normal to it. I do believe that. It just becomes, just another dead body. It's sad to say something like that, but another guy died.
Yeah, I knew it was time for me to make a switch when they'd be like, I'll be eating lunch, and I'm like, oh, we got a room 10. They're like, Rashad, you got to go get it. I'm like, all right. So I go down there. Food's still in my mouth. Still eating my sandwich. I go down to the morgue, and the morgue has a scent that you never forget. And I was still eating, chewing, and like nothing happened, and it was just normal. I would fall asleep in the morgue, because I knew I'll take like a little cat nap in the morgue, and it was like, dang, this is what it is, and it's just like one of those things that you start to like realize that, man, life is unbelievable, and it's happening at a rate that's so fast. And I don't, you don't even know if truly, what is this?
Yeah.
So I was like, I need to make the most of this. And that's where the whole drive to just want to be that athlete really came from.
I totally get it now. And we had Billy Carson in. I don't know if you know who that is.
Oh, I know Billy Carson.
And he was talking about downloading.
Yeah.
He made a lot of sense.
Yeah, he made a lot of sense.
I mean, out of all of them. I mean, not that the other ones, like the Harvard guys and stuff like that, but he was talking about the download thing. And I think if you're within self, this episode is brought to you by Let's Get Checked. Are you the man your father was? Recent studies have shown that men's testosterone levels have dropped substantially since the 1980s at about an average of 1% per year. Think about how old your father was when he was born. For example, if he was 30, your testosterone levels could be 30% lower than his. Low testosterone levels can have all type of health effects on men. It can affect your mood, sex drive, memory, muscle mass loss, you name it. And yes, low testosterone is more common the older you get, but it can affect men at any age. So let's talk about today's sponsor, Let's Get Checked. You can order a testing kit that will be delivered to you in a discreet packaging with next day delivery. Once your sample arrives in the laboratory, confidential results will be available from your secure online account within 2 to 5 days. So, if you want to test your hormone levels without having to leave your home, visit trylgc.com/MSCS Media and get 25% off your test using the code MSCS Media. The link is in the description at the top. This episode is brought to you by Fiji. More than just water.
This is not just rock. It's ancient volcanic rock that filters tropical rain, giving it double the electrolytes and its signature soft, smooth taste. It's not just water. It's Fiji water.
I believe it.
There's definitely downloads, and I've had downloads. I've had some experiences with this whole psychedelic adventure that it's hard to really describe, and it's hard to really get people to understand, because it's the difference of trying to get something that lives on a 3-dimensional realm to understand something in a 6-dimensional realm. There's just no framework for it. It's just completely unbelievably different. But once you experience it, you realize that is your true state versus here. Like I've done psychedelics, the 5-MeO DMT, the toad.
You did the toad?
I did.
Can you tell me about the toad, the Tyson
man.
toad?
Oh, wow.
And you can see if you look around, I got a UFO. Look up. We got stars at the top of the so
Yeah.
Tell me about that toad. I don't mean to take you off the other stuff, but
when I did the toad, the toad, the medicine comes from the back of the Sonoran Desert toad, and they excrete it, they massage it, and they excrete they pop it like a pimple onto a glass, and it dries, and then when they shave it off with like a razor, and it looks like fish scales. It looks just like little fish scales, and then you smoke it in like a pipe. It almost almost like a crack pipe. You smoke it in a pipe like that, right? And when you smoke it, you suck in the smoke, and as soon as you sip it, you go real slow, and then about time you get it all in and you exhale, you're gone. It feels like you're gone to the place where you're actually really at. It's almost as if like you're not really here, that you're just kind of projecting your consciousness there.
That's what I think. This is all projection.
It would seem like, from my experiences, I would say I agree with that, because of the fact that I was there in that state where I felt more alive and more conscious than I do here. And it almost actually felt as if like I'm only sticking like a thimble of my consciousness in this vessel. But when I was there, I felt the enormity of my consciousness, and it was ever expanding, and it was it's incomprehensible. There's no way you can really comprehend it unless you feel it. But when you feel it, you're gonna remember, and it felt like home. And that's the thing that I kept feeling like. I'm home. I finally made it back. And it felt as if like I was just so happy to be there, and it was just this feeling of love, like beyond anything that I've ever felt in my life. Almost as if like, the person who I love the most times 1,000,000,000,000. It was almost breathtaking. It almost took my breath away, that feeling. And I was like, whoa, what is that? And I'm in this state, and it was like this state of just conscious awareness, all consciousness. And it went on forever. And it was bright as if I was inside of the sun, like all gold, everything. And then, I started to think like, man, maybe that's what they're talking about when they say streets paved of gold, when they talk about heaven. Because if there is a heaven, and this had to be it. I'm like, this has to be heaven.
I'm with you, man.
It has to be heaven. And then when I started to come back to my body, it started to get dark, and it started to just kind of get cold and wet. and like a damp feeling. And then I open my eyes and reality's all pixelated, almost as if like it's a movie, and it's just kind of like piecing it together, like kind of coming together like in a very computer generated
Like
kind
a
of way.
Matrix.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, because before it even got to the point where it was all like that, it was like I was seeing like sacred geometry, and it was almost as if like you have to go through that to get to here. And then I opened my eyes and I just cried. I cried like a baby, because it felt good to know that no matter what happens here, everything is going to be all right. And that was something that I didn't even realize that I was afraid of. I didn't realize that that was just deep in me like that, but just a feeling of just knowing that everything is going to be okay.
I don't
It's
think
gonna
there's
be all right.
any
And
other
there's-
better feeling than that. Remember we always ask Mom, even,
Yeah.
am I going to be okay? Am I
Yeah,
gonna-"
you ask that
Yeah.
question, you want to know, but when you know for a fact that everything is going to be okay, no matter what happens in your life,
You can deal with it.
you can deal with it. And it makes you attack life differently, because what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? You would do everything,
Yeah.
you know?
And how long does that last in real time?
Oh man, it felt like an eternity, because you're in a place where you're touching eternity. So if you feel like you're there and you're back and you're there forever, but then when the actual time is like maybe 15, 17 minutes.
Damn.
You need the toad, Tommy.
Yeah, we need. Now, have you done just the regular DMT?
Yeah, I have done that.
Is there a huge difference between the toad and the DMT?
There is. There is, because with the NN-DMT,
Yeah.
the spirit molecule, you still have that dualism. That dualism is it's me and other.
I see.
But with the toad, you feel the singularity.
Ego's gone
Ego's gone, but you feel the oneness.
within one.
Yeah, and it's only one. It's only one, and it's crazy because it's kind of hard to describe. And when I say it to people, it's kind of hard to say without sounding weird, because it just doesn't make sense. But the reality of the situation is the fact that, and I'm sure you've heard people say this before, but it's like we are the same.
Yeah.
We are all the same.
We're all one.
We're all, and it's that oneness. We are all pulling from that ocean of consciousness, and it's almost as if like right now in this form, we're in raindrop form, but eventually one day this raindrop will make it back to the ocean to realize that it was never a raindrop. It's always been the ocean.
Always been the ocean, but we perceived it
As just being a raindrop.
And then with the mushrooms like psilocybin, that just breaks you through, kind of, right? That's nothing like that.
No, I've had the feeling of singularity on mushrooms before too. Yeah,
Psilocybin?
Well, on psilocybin, yeah, I did like
fucking 20 grams or what?
Yeah, it was like it was a high dosage. It was maybe 10 grams, a little over 10 grams.
How long that one last for?
About 6 hours.
Yeah, that's
because it was a hippie flip.
Oh, okay.
You know what a hippie flip is?
I do.
Yeah, so
but explain it.
So a hippie flip is when you use like medical grade MDMA, not none of the street stuff, but medical grade MDMA with the psilocybin, and then you do that, and we did a ceremony like that, and it was like people who understood about how to do that, so it wasn't like no street kind of stuff. So when I did that, it was like a complete launch off, and I remember sitting in the yard, like at my buddy's house, Dale's house, and just like they're not gonna believe this, but I'm actually every single one of them.
Yeah. No,
it wasn't like I was saying it, just like I knew it. Like it was a knowingness, and there's a knowingness that just kind of took over, and it was crazy because I'm sitting out in the sun, but the sun was speaking to me. Like the sun was conscious. It's almost as if like the longer I stared at the sun, I started to like go through different parts of the sun. It's really hard to explain, really weird. I probably sound crazy as hell right now, but
no.
it came back to
it.
me like after that, like it was like the sun very well may be conscious. And it sounds nuts, but we've been told that the sun is 93 million miles away burning in space.
But that's what we project it to be.
That's what we've been told.
From the
But
time
what
you're
if the sun is much different than that?
or the moon.
What if
What if?
it's much different than that? And they gave us that what it is, so that way it disconnects us from ever looking at it even further.
Well, and then,
And really, because think about it. What is
Yeah.
light? Light is information.
Right.
And you
What it
notice
all
one
is.
thing that they try to do. What do they try to do? They try to block out the sun.
yeah.
They're trying to block information.
And I can even give you like in simple terms, because I'm with you on this. Because after I tried a lot of it. It takes a lot for me. But I'll tell you what, I won't step on a flower. I really believe, and maybe I'm crazy too, but I think they all have conscience, and there's no. This is really weird, but you know, in a sense, there's no difference between me, that flower, that tree, that grass I step on. I think it all has a conscience. I really do.
I can definitely relate to that, because part of that trip, I was walking through his yard,
You feel it on your feet.
and the yard was prickling me as I was walking,
Uh-huh.
and then this knowingness told me to walk on the dead patches. And it was like, you know, walk on the dead patches, because you're stepping on something alive. It's going to prick you, but when you step on the dead patches, there's nothing there, and you're not gonna hurt your foot. And I started doing that, and I didn't hurt my feet no more walking in the grass. So there's a consciousness that we can tap into, but the problem is the fact that we've built a world on top of the natural world. And we build the world on top of the natural world, and we're disconnected from that natural world, and we don't understand why things happen the way they do, and we blame God or whatnot for it. But at the end of the day, we're living outside of the creation. And because we're living outside of the creation, we lost our connection to that creation. So we've lost a connection with the universal, unmutable laws. For instance, by this, I mean that if I stand on a ledge and I don't watch myself, I will fall over. It doesn't matter if I'm a good person. It doesn't matter what I did. These are immutable laws. These are, it's the law of gravity, right? That is called, it's the law of gravity. You will fall. So there's laws in existence that they're unmutable. No matter who you are, no matter how your heart is, if you don't follow these laws, you're going to be subject to the penalties of which. And because we built a world on top of the natural world, we're suffering from these laws because we don't understand the natural world.
And I know I was going to say too quick, but the light sending information, that cartoon Cocomelon, I looked into this deep because I went down this rabbit hole path with all this stuff. They purposely make it like it's like 300 frames a second, and with the light and the pixels and the lighting, and they do that so that the kid gets addicted to it.
Yeah, detects the brain.
It's just sending that information so quick. So you could come up with 27 other cartoons.
Yeah.
The light is sending that information with those quick frames and pixels to the kid, where it's like this.
The science behind it all.
And within that, it's feeding them God knows what's in the who knows, you know what I mean?
I mean, and that's the thing too, right? Like we have these physical bodies, but at the end of the day, we're nothing but light beings. And I say that because, we pick up on an energetic level. Like there's a biofield that is emitted from our body. It's measurable. You can take pictures of it, with I think Carolyn footage,
Like a frequency, right? Type
yeah,
of thing?
yeah, you can see a frequency, and that frequency is nothing but light. And when we meet other frequencies, negative frequencies and whatnot, and we have those things in our life, our job and our purpose in life is not to avoid those things, but it's for something else, which is called transmutation. You're supposed to encounter some darkness in your life, and because you are a light being, your job is to transmute that into positive light. And that's why we have the trials and tribulations that we have. And that's why sometimes we have it repeating over and over and over again, because it's about transmutation. And that's what the spirit or the goal of existence is to transmute these energies.
You ever have a girl when you went out say, don't do it, don't go, don't go? And they used to always talk about, the woman having the sixth sense or whatever.
Yeah.
Listen to me. If I would have listened to her about 10 different times, I would have saved myself a lot of trouble.
I know.
And I swear, I believe that women purposely have a way of accepting that frequency other than men.
Well, because they bear life too. They have life living.
They bear life.
Yeah.
You go back in time, king always had queen.
Mm-hmm.
Always.
Yeah. Women are portals, right?
Yeah.
They're essentially portals in a sense. You know what I'm saying?
How would they know all that shit?
That's what I'm saying. They have a connection with the divine that men just don't really have, and they may not even be conscious with it, but it's just something that's just inside of them, and they can't even say how they truly feel and how they really got it, because then we'll definitely think they're crazy.
Well, it's funny because you talk about the oneness and everything being one, and if you're religious or not religious, I don't think it matters. But Catholics, believe there's God, and God created everyone in His own image and likeness, right? So you're created as one.
Mm-hmm.
You're Him. So technically, people say weird. We talked about this. That's crazy to talk like that. We're technically all God.
Yeah.
Or if that's what we believe in, God, we're all part of this God, and we're all the same thing. As weird as that sounds.
Well, I mean, the Bible says that.
Yeah.
The Bible says that. Don't ye know that ye are gods? The temple of God is inside of you. And it's the temple of God is inside of us. So there's a part of us that has that divine connection, and saying it in a human form, a form that's, making mistakes, a form that isn't perfect. It's hard for people to really wrap their minds around that, because they don't truly get to see what they are. And these mistakes and these things that hold us back from seeing our true beauty is something that keeps us on this train of misunderstanding of what we truly are and what this truly is.
You know what's funny? Graham Hancock, you know who that is?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. He goes, I think every politician should have to trip, and every president should have to do DMT, psilocybin. Really?
I'm telling you.
Hey, listen, it made sense to me.
Listen, I'm telling you, we're about 5 grams away from world peace. We're about 5 grams, man. I'm telling you, man. If these people drop some mushrooms, I'm telling you, man, it would totally change them. Because one of the things that changed me was when I had these experiences was I got so much more compassion, and I got to truly see my connection with everything around me, and it changed me in a way that it like nothing else, I
can always tell when somebody did a psychedelic thing, because they come in like, you're a star, man, and many other people have been here, but if I didn't know it, you're just like another guy. We had Russell Simmons last week.
Yeah.
Not cocky, nothing at all. Down to earth, like many people.
Down
and like
earth.
Some I don't want to ask, but it's like, I know.
Yeah, you can see it,
because they treat everybody just as one.
Yeah, and Russell was really in tune with we had Russell on. He's really in tune. He's in Bali, right? He lives in Bali.
Yeah.
Oh, he lives in Bali, huh?
He got the hell out
He's
of
got
here.
his own hotel that he's has over there, and he's really into yoga, really into.
Man, I need to go to
self-meditation.
Russ's. I need to go to Russ's place, man.
Yeah,
Oh, he had everybody there. He had MC Light there. He
Yeah.
had, who else did he have there?
I forget who was there
Pile.
when we were talking to him.
He's living a life.
He
with
was
that boy.
just it was crazy because it's Russell Simmons, right? Yeah, like, oh my god, and down to earth, like Tommy said, everything we asked him, like you're genius, you did this, you did that. He's like, well, first I have to say it's not me, it was this person that helped me, like just like so humble, like
Yeah.
you know what I mean. And then he talked about medications, he talked about
Yeah, he was
diet,
just like
he
you.
talked about exactly
He's vegan.
Oh, he is too, huh?
Yep, and then just his yoga and his meditation has really transformed his life, is from what he's saying. So
Do you do that chirotherapy?
I do. Yeah,
Does that actually work?
it does work. It does work. Yeah.
I had Wim Hof, and he said just take a shower in cold water. It's the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Pretty
it's
much,
Just
you don't gotta-
easier way to do it.
Yeah, pretty
You got-
much.
if you got
Cold
50
cold shower, ice bath, whatever you need is just that contrast to get your body to start to the
There's
process.
some real
of-
science in that. Too.
Yeah.
Now, having all this said, when you went into Suffice and you were the underdog, you must. At first, I was thinking, I was going to ask you, how'd you feel about that? But I already know the answer. I bet you loved being the underdog.
I loved being an underdog. I loved when they booed me.
Yeah.
I loved it because it fired me up. It fired me up. I remember one fight in particular. I'm fighting Forrest Griffin, and I'm just starting off slow. I'm having a slow start to a fight and trying to make my reads, and he's just catching me. He's catching me with leg kicks, and he gets off on like a really good combination.
Got you on some good leg kicks.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I still got a knot in my leg from those leg. So he was getting off on me like kind of something nasty. And he backed me up to a cage with a flurry and a combination. And I just hear the crowd just like cheering and, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, this is what you want? And I look at Forrest and I was just like, I did a gesture when I was like, suck my dick, bitch. And I hit him. And he was just like, like I don't even know where that came from, but it was just a part of me that just kind of was just like, I refuse to go out like that. And that's the difference. Like when I fight, the person who you see before you, he never fought, but there is this other part of me that's like Sugar Rashad. That Sugar part just comes out and he's a performer. He's down for it. He's down to go out there and show out and just have a good time and, try to freestyle on somebody. And, that's what I love to do. I love that. And it was part of the fight for me. Like I would just wait until that moment where I would just fall into that flow state and I wouldn't be thinking. I would just be out there reacting and I'm out there just feeling it and I'm flowing. When I had to fight Chuck Liddell, I remember
That was a big one.
Yeah, I walk out to that fight. Well, before I even walk out to that fight, I was so scared. Like the day before, I was so scared, and I had a conversation with Randy Couture that kind of changed that. And I went to his room, and I'm like, oh my God, Randy, I'm so afraid, man. Like fuck, man, what am I gonna do, man?
At least you were honest.
Yeah, I was afraid. I was afraid.
I don't know who wouldn't be at that time, bro.
I was in Randy's corner when he got knocked out by Chuck. Not in his corner, but like I was there with him when in his back room before he walked out, right? And he got knocked out, and I'm like, oh my God, he knocked out Randy, man, and Randy's my guy. And I told Randy, I'm like, dude, I'm afraid, man. He's like, you got to make friends at the worst outcome. And it was the best advice anybody's ever given me. And that night, I let that advice take hold. I just repeated it over and over again. I looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm like, fuck this. Fuck this. And every single time I had one of those thoughts that was like me being afraid, I would just curse it away. Nah, fuck that. No. And I work myself up in the lather until I'm just like screaming at the mirror, like, nah, let's go. And I got myself real hyped up. And that was the day before the fight. So the next day when I woke
was
up,
about to walk out.
yeah, no, that was the
And
day.
we're talking about Lindell in his prime.
That
by
was
the way.
Lindell in his prime. And then the next day, I wake up and I remind myself of the affirmations that I spit into the mirror the day before, and I'm hitting mitts with Mike Winklejohn, and I'm hitting with the overhand right left hook over and over again, and I'm cracking it. And this is what you call the shakeout. You wake up the body early in the morning on fight day, so that way you're just not waking it up when it's time to fight. And I'm hitting it, and Winklejohn was like, you're going to hit him with the shot, and you're going to hit him so hard, he's going to go down, and they're not going to let me in the cage. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, you're hitting really hard. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I go to the fight, and right before I'm about to walk out, my corner's like, okay, you got everything you need, mouthpiece, cup. And I'm like, oh, shoot, oh, my God, I forgot a cup.
Oh, jeez.
I forgot my cup. And then it was like, well, we don't have no time. We got to figure something out.
No time.
Yeah, because I couldn't go back and get a cup. So what ended up happening was, luckily for me or unluckily for me, my teammate just got done fighting a fight before. So I wore his cup. Now that joint was soggy because he did a 3-round fight. It was a soggy, wet, never been washed cup. The cup has never been washed because that was part of his superstition. Like, you know, you don't want to wash a cup. So I put that cup on.
You didn't have many choices.
And I was like, at that moment, I'm just like, yo.
It's all or nothing on this.
It's all or nothing. I got to go, man. So I went out there and just had a great time. But when I was out there, I was in a flow state. I'm out there just having fun. I'm out there enjoying it. And it was one of those fights where I just, like, it was like an out-of-body experience for me, you know? And it was just me being in a perfect kind of flow state, kind of being in the space where I enjoy fighting from.
Now, what about when you were a favorite? Was that hard for you?
No, it wasn't hard for me. Like, when I was a favorite, I was just like, I'm gonna go and just smash this dude, and I just really need to remind him, like,
who you are.
Yeah, I just need to remind him, like, you're not gonna win this fight, you know. So sometimes I'll do things that, you know, wasn't about a punch, but it'd just be like grabbing him and just kind of like looking at him and just shaking. You know, just I enjoyed the brutalizing part, like to be able to just kind of grind him out, to make him suffer. Because for me, that's what a fight is. It's a suffering contest. Who can out-suffer who? I'm willing to bet I'm willing to go to that place more than you, and that's what I wanted to see.
I don't know how you guys do it. I've asked everyone. I asked O'Malley. I asked Colby. I asked them, how do you take those leg kicks in the head and not drop? I don't understand it.
It's a fun.
And they say, well, we know how to dodge it right. I still don't get it. Nah. You guys are just on a whole nother, and that's got to be. No. I mean, soccer. You know, you got to be crazy, and that's a hard sport. People don't realize how hard soccer, but MMA and UFC, that's some brutal shit, man.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know anything that's more brutal than that.
It is, but when you're doing it, it doesn't feel like it's that brutal. It doesn't feel like it's that crazy. Like when I'm in there, I'm like, oh, I feel totally safe. I mean, there's a few times I've been separated from consciousness, but even when I got knocked out, it was just like a quick little nap, and I woke up and I felt really rested and like, oh, okay, what happened?
Now, how funny is it though? Matt Hughes, when you were fighting, he was with somebody else, and he broke your balls about Showboat.
Oh yeah.
Now, if you think of all the greats, Jordan, he had to talk shit Showboat. He had to do that to get adrenaline because he was just killing everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like all the greats did it. Even Brady. Even people think he was screaming at everybody.
Well, so that was during a time in MMA where it was like,
and then he ended up in your corner.
Yeah.
That's what's funny.
Yeah, I know. He ended up being in my corner. He ended up having a corner me. But that was a time in MMA where it was just kind of like, you have to compete this kind of way, and we're not like those other sports and things like that. But for me, I like to clown. Like when I first started fighting back in the day when I was fighting on like King of the Ring, they called me Sexual Chocolate. I'm out there moving, like just feeling myself, doing all that kind of stuff. And it was just me out there having fun, because I'm like, why am I doing this if I'm not having fun? This has to be fun for me. So I would clown around and make it fun.
And that had to have thrown your opponent off.
Oh my gosh, they couldn't
Or
tell.
they get in, you get in their head and they want to kill you.
Right.
And then it's like,
They mess
nah,
up
now
somewhere.
you're thinking too much, buddy. Now
Well, yeah.
I'm just going to crush you.
It's all strategy. For me, I'm a natural counter striker. So for me, if I can get you to overreact, and if I can get you to act out of emotion, then you're less calculated, you're less technical, and then I can seize the opportunity.
Yeah, I think people, and especially me too, because I just recently got into it because I used to box. You know, so in the last year I got into at first, you got to think, for me growing up, there was the Tysons, the
heavyweight
Lewis.
champs. Yeah, they're heavyweight champs.
Yeah, everything was boxing. So then UFC comes along, and I'm like, dude, this is like, even for me, it's just some brutal stuff here. You know,
Yeah.
like street fight, it was like a street fight, like to me. You know, you go with whatever you got. But then as I started to realize, there's a lot of technical. Like, you can't be a dummy and make it to the Hall of Fame or a champion or even compete. Like, you got to really be smart. So then I started thinking, how do these guys get beat like this in the head? And they're smart enough to anticipate. And then I got really interested. And then I started looking at it more from a technical aspect as well as a competition.
Yeah, it's like a big game of physical chess where the stakes are really high if you make a mistake.
Yeah. That's a great way to say it. Now, I know a little bit too much about Jim Jones, but John Jones.
John Jones?
I know a little bit too much about him, but he seems to always come up. He came up with Colby. Colby's roommates with him.
Yeah.
They have their thing. But with you guys were training together, right?
Yep.
And then you hurt your knee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now you hurt your knee. Could they have delayed that fight until your knee got better instead of giving it to someone else or offering it to someone else? Like, how did that work?
they could have, but at that point, John Jones had the momentum. He had I believe like 3 really good fights, with Stephan Bonner, Brandon Vera, and I think it was somebody else. But he was on a roll. I think he just fought Matt Hamill. So, he was on a roll, and he went and just dismantled everybody. He smashed everybody up. So, they seen the potential. They seen the greatness in him, and they wanted to put him in that position. And at the time we talked about it, and I was like, yeah, man, go for it, because at the time we were actually not only teammates, but we were also managed by the same company. So it was kind of something that we just agreed. And I've been in that position my entire UFC career, as far as like having a teammate in the same division I was. Me and Keith Jardine, we navigated climbing to the top of the light heavyweight division, and we were left and right. You know what I'm saying? And he took one side of the bracket, I took the other. But at the end of the day, we always made sure that we didn't fight each other. And that's how it was supposed to be. We never entertained any conversations about fighting each other. It was just something like, nope, not going to happen. Next question. But John was, talking about that he wanted to fight and stuff like that. And one day, I called him like, yeah, man, what's up, man? They say you want to fight. And then he was just like, yeah. I was like, oh, it's like that. And it was like, yeah, I mean, it's going to happen. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I called Greg, and I was like, yo, Greg, so remember that deal we worked out and having John on the team because we're not going to fight each other? And I was like, well, he said he's down to fight. And he's like, well, and I was like, oh, so that's who you rolling with then, huh?
I see.
So then I went. Then I moved here and started my own thing.
Yeah, so it was kind of like just I don't know how else to say this from being from Philly. It was kind of just like a rule, like a rule. Like look, we're teammates. We're not gonna do that.
It was part of his part of him signing on to the team. Before he came onto the team, I was like, I don't know, man. We got 2 light heavyweights already. Now we got 3 to kind of avoid, and this kid is kind of coming up. And I'm like, we're gonna end up fighting. And then Greg's like, no, we're not gonna fight. We're not gonna fight.
Totally see this, right?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about it, and one thing I didn't really pay attention or really anticipate is the fact that, you know, coaches got ambitions too.
Yeah, I didn't bring it up because of that. Because if you read, there's two ways you could read that they have it on Google. I knew it happened, but I wanted you to clear up. Because one part, depending on how you Google it, it looks like you hurt your knee, he went for the title, and you got mad at him and walked out.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's how it looks.
Yeah, that's how it looks.
But
yeah.
that's not really what happened.
No.
You were more than happy for him to go for it, and you're maybe not more than happy.
Yeah, I
but
was
you were
cheering
okay
for him.
with
I was cheering for him. Like for me, it wasn't about that he was champion, because at the end of the day, if Keith Jardine got to be champion, I was going to play that role of being the best supporter. And at the time, I'd never been a champion. I enjoyed competing. I enjoyed fighting, so I didn't really. If I'm champion, I'm champion. But at the end of the day, if my boy's champion, then that's cool too.
Yeah.
Like that's how we were thinking. You know, that's how me and Keith were thinking. And it just wasn't like that, you know, with me and John.
But you see how these pricks portray it? You know, they're like,
Yeah,
he got mad at him because he went for the title because I hurt my knee. But that's not there's a lot more to it.
There's a lot more to it than that.
But in any case, you came out with the Black Zillions. And
Yep.
Yeah, the Black Zillions. Yeah.
You had some monsters there.
Yeah.
One was I can never say his name right. Osama. It's not fucking.
Muhammad
Usman.
Usman.
He's gonna
Kamaru
kill
Usman.
He's gonna
Kamaru
fucking-
Usman.
One day he's gonna walk in there and punch him right in the face. I better have a gift for him.
Yeah, Kamaru Usman. You know, he came from the camp when I was getting ready for a Rampage. I pulled my hamstring really bad, and it was to the point where I thought I was gonna have to cancel the fight. But I was able to get around that because I was able to drill the last few weeks of the fight.
With the pulled hamstring.
Yeah, it was really bad.
Jeez.
It was really bad.
Damn.
And I
That's
was
willpower.
yeah. Well, I mean, they had the whole primetime show. I could not miss it. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I got to get this fight. So, and at that time, he already had blew me off to not fight because he was in an 18 movie. So then I had to fight somebody in the meantime, and then I ended up winning that fight. So then the fight with Rampage was going to happen, and I couldn't miss a fight. So I had to pull hamstring, and I needed somebody to drill with that was a wrestler. And Mohammed Lawal, King Mo, introduced me to Kamaru Usman. At the time, they called him Marty. And, you know, me and Kamaru right out the gate, we started drilling around for a little bit. But before you know it, we're like in a full wrestling match for like the first takedown. And I'm not even supposed to be wrestling. So I had to let this little dude know that I don't care if you're at the Olympic Training Center, you're not just going to be taking me down like this, you know? So we went back and forth, and it was good. And I came out of that camp like one of the best things about that camp was having him. Now I have a training partner that does collegiate wrestling and that does wrestling, you know, and that was big for me because as you get into the sport of MMA, it's easy to have your wrestling decline because you're not wrestling at that level, because people in MMA at the time were very easy to take down. So technically speaking, I didn't have to do as much to take them down. But over time, that deteriorates my skills of being able to take people down because I'm not doing all the steps necessary to take them down. So I wanted to get with somebody who was really good and proficient with the takedowns, and I got Kamaru. So when I started my team, I'm like, dude, you got to come out for training camp. And he came out to Florida, and he stayed as long as he could. But he's like, oh, man, I got to get back. And I was like, dude, I mean, wrestling is wrestling, but if you fight, you can make some money. You can do your thing. And he was like, I don't know, man. So then he went back to Colorado, and then his coach was kind of putting some pressure on him, making, you know, like, you got to choose this or fighting. And he chose fighting. Mm-hmm. He came back down. He lived with me for about 4 or 5 years.
Wow.
And, you know, I made sure he had everything he needed, you know, and, you know, he ended up growing to be what he is now.
That's crazy, right?
Yeah,
just how
man.
things happen.
It's just crazy. I mean, but in that camp we had
monsters.
Yeah, Tyrone Spong, Vitor Belfort, Alistair Overeem, the late great Rumble Anthony Johnson, Michael Johnson, Gilbert Burns.
Was in there too.
I love Gilbert. Yeah.
Gilbert.
I like Gilbert Burns.
Yeah, we had some true killers in that room, man. Like it was unbelievable. We had Mario Sperry as a coach, Kenny Monday as a coach, Mike Van Arsdale. We had some of the best people that came to the gym.
What's like the worst, like from an outside perspective, like watching UFC? I love the UFC, seeing the fighters, and I may not be in it as technically as some guys are. Like my one friend, he is religiously with UFC. He could tell me all these stats and all this different shit. But like, what's the worst type of fighter to go up against? Meaning, you have a guy who has a wrestling background, maybe a guy who has more of the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or whatever it may be. What's the hardest fighter to prepare for?
Like the hardest style?
Yeah.
It all depends on what your base style is,
yeah.
ultimately speaking. But
for you, what would it be?
It was always guys who are just kind of really crafty with their striking. Like the striking guys were always more of a challenge. And even some of the guys that had really good judo was difficult, because judo is like the antithesis to wrestling, and it's easy to kind of get in wrestling position, but when it's judo applied, sometimes you can get out of position. But I mean, outside of just the technical aspect of it, my always hardest fight was just that blue collar, hard nosed, not really good at that specialty, but just has that die-hard mentality, just hard to break and hard to bring to that point where they're gonna quit, and that's what it's all about, just really bringing the guy to the point where he wants to quit. And that was, for me, the favorite part. That was my favorite part of the fight, was the moment that I broke my opponent down to the point where I'm looking at him and he just quit on me. And it's the weirdest thing. So I don't even know how to.
You loved it. You loved going up against somebody that wasn't gonna quit. That wasn't gonna be an easy one.
I loved it. But even with the guys that weren't gonna quit, I loved it because I loved breaking them.
Yeah,
I loved
like trying to.
Yeah, I loved to break them, and then all of a sudden, this guy that was just so hard and so unrelenting, all of a sudden, just kind of just concedes.
One slip.
Yeah, just concedes. And the thing about it is, it's like, you don't realize, like, it's something that's like it's an energy that they give off. They're not even saying nothing. They may not even do nothing as far as an expression, but you just feel it in an energy, like they just gave up. And then you look at them like, oh, I got your ass.
And why do you think, like yourself, from tough champions, nothing but champions, why do you think?
I think the reason why Tough has produced so many champions is because of the style that it brings you into the UFC with. You're fighting in a tournament.
That's right.
One after another. And it brings you in on the heels of just having to fight just to be in the space. And then once you're bred in that mentality of like, I gotta fight, I gotta perform, it just gets easy to just do it like that. I gotta perform. For me, I was just chasing Forrest Griffin. Forrest kept winning, so I'm like, dude, I gotta keep winning too. And I just kept winning, and Forrest kept winning too. And it was like, man, I gotta catch this dude. This dude is, he's competing in the same weight class. I want to catch him. I want to fight Forrest Griffin. And it was it was like one of the great things about that time, because MMA was still sorting itself out. There's a lot of sponsors and a lot of money coming in. They'll give you like $17,000, $50,000, $75,000 just for putting patches on your pants. And it wasn't even about what they can get. It wasn't about the ROIs on it. It was just about them having them named. It was like a little bragging, look, my name is on those shorts,
Yeah.
And it was a fun time in MMA. It was a time like no other, and it was the best time of my life, because it was like the Wild West. Like, nobody knew what was going to happen with the sport, and we were all trying to compete in the level of trying to get recognized as a sport. I remember I told my mom I was gonna be a fighter, and she was like, wait, Rashad, hold on, Rashad, hold on, shit.
Rashad, she probably said shit too.
Yeah,
right?
she did.
So she what?
She said, Rashad, look, you mean to tell me, Rashad, you went to school for 5 years just to fight, Rashad? That don't make no damn sense, Rashad. But she came from that perspective all the way to being like
Wow.
custom model. Like, okay, Rashad, look, Rashad, I watched your last opponent, Rashad, and look, he gonna try to put that pressure on you. And I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? She get all this shit.
Like, are you my mom?
Yeah, she be like, and Rashad, look, when you hit him, Rashad, keep him hit, Rashad. You gotta get it all the way through, Rashad. And listen, Rashad, you gotta listen to Joe Rogan, Rashad. You gotta pass that guard, Rashad. I'm like, Ma, I can't hear Joe Rogan when I'm out there. I don't know what Joe Rogan's saying.
But you can hear her.
Yeah. But she just became that's
so awesome.
a super big fan of it, you know. And even now she still watches some fights.
So then, you know, you champion, make it to the Hall of Fame. Looking now, like at that time, looking now, how different is it now from what, 4 years ago?
It's way different now. You know, the sport has grown so much, and you know, it has you know, there's a lot more money in it right now, and it's just it's grown. The promotion has grown so much. The promotion is more.
It's almost like boxing now.
Yeah,
if there wasn't so many.
Yeah,
it would be if they build them up more.
Well, see, and that's the thing about it. You know, it is the UFC has a format where they go at least, you know, 3 or 4 times a month. Like every weekend, you can catch a UFC fight, and you know, it's good, but also at the same time, it's not like how it used to be, where you have that big anticipation and that build up for the fight. So it's bad in the sense that in order to really be remembered, you got to be spectacular. You got to go out there and do something memorable, because there's so many fights that's happening. It's easy to forget. You know, you can be easily forgotten. So it's all about, you know, just going out there and being a performer, going out there and making sure you make the time that you get that light, the time that spotlight is on you, you try to make it big as possible.
Oh, go ahead.
Any guys that came up before you that you really like looked up to, or was like, man, I really like this guy, I like his style, or you know, any of the people that came before you in the UFC that you really looked up to?
Yeah, I mean, I got to train with most of them. You know, I learned jiu-jitsu on DVD from Mario Sperry, and he became my coach. Sure. And you know, I really love Tito Ortiz. He was my one of the first guys that I really started to gel with in the sport, and I ended up fighting him. And Rampage was my guy. I love Rampage when he was in Pride, and when he lost to Vanderlei Silva, I cried real tears, man. I was sad for him, man. I loved him, but I ended up fighting him. So it's like I met, you know, and Randy Couture. I mean, I could just go down a list, but it's crazy because I was there with them.
Isn't that crazy?
You know, and it's unbelievable because I started watching the sport in '93 when it first came out, and to see myself climb that ladder and be there with some of the biggest names in the sport, it's just been unbelievable experience for me.
Congratulations, really.
Thank you.
I mean, to yourself, I mean, you're a monster. But yeah. I just think it's so cool when somebody says that. You know, like you look at everything you won, underdog, people talking shit, this, that, the other. But you don't have to say that. But you were like, man, you know, I looked up to them. I got to hang out with them. You know, just like now I really know you did a couple trips.
No, you know,
I'm just joking with you.
It's one of those things like...
Sounds like your mom kept you humble as shit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, I was never one for being celebrated. You know, I didn't really care for the celebration, because for me, I always felt like no one can truly give me what I can give myself as far as from, you know, bringing my spirits up and stuff like that. And I always was in a mindset of that, you know, you got to be careful the congratulations you receive from people, because you can build your foundation of who you are in what they say. Yeah. And then if they take it away, you're left in pieces, right? Because that was your foundation. So I try not to care too much what people say. And coming up in the sport, I was booed a lot, so I definitely try not to care what people say. But when I got to be put into the Hall of Fame,
That's something.
that was something that hit me in a different way. It hit me in a different kind of emotion because I didn't realize what I meant to other people. And that to me was the most special thing, like hearing people tell me the stories of, I started fighting because of you, and and starting taking a look at all the things that
The inspiration
that I was able to do. I was a pioneer in starting MMA. There's a team in Lansing, Michigan called Team Murcielago. Me and Joaquin Rodriguez and started that team, and now that's one of the best teams in MMA right now. They're doing their thing. They have a lot of good fighters now, and I helped start that. And with Jackson's, I played a huge role in all that, and trained with GSP and Keith Jardine, Nate Marquardt, and all those guys, and David Loazo, and we had like this big trifecta training camp that we created between Denver, New Mexico, and Montreal, and I got to be a part of that. And then I come down to Florida, and then I start the Black Zillions, and then the Black Zillions just became a huge mecca camp that ended up beating American Top Team in the Ultimate Fighter show.
How about that?
Yeah, and everybody that comes from that, from that team, are now doing their thing. The Gilbert Burns, the Kamaru Usmans, Henry Hoof, Greg Jones. Greg Jones, the coach of Kill Cliff right now, which used to be the Black Zillions. I hired him. I hired him and brought him on. But Greg Jones is one of the greatest college wrestlers of all time.
That means something.
I wrestled him. I wrestled Greg Jones in college.
Wow.
And because he was so good in college, because he was a man, I wanted him to be part of the team. I wanted him, so I brought him on the team. And now he's heading up that program, and he's become an amazing coach over there. So it's like, through me, a lot of people came, and I'm just like, man.
And not only that, they can support their families.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful experience, and getting that moment to be Hall of Fame, getting up there to share that speech and talk about it was an emotional thing. And then when I was up there speaking, there was an earthquake that happened.
Oh my God! You got bad luck like I got.
Yeah,
bad
it was
luck.
an earthquake. There was an earthquake as I'm doing my Hall of Fame speech. And it was just like, I was like, oh my gosh, there's an earthquake. You can look it up on YouTube, but it's crazy, man. It's like, it was like something divine. You know what I'm saying? Like,
see if you can find that.
Just put in Rashad earthquake on YouTube.
You could have looked at it the other way. Like, I was that good.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I shake the earth, baby. I'm shaking up the earth.
You should have made money on that one.
I'm telling you, man. But it was it's been quite an experience, and being able to still work with the promotion. I still work with the promotion doing analytical work, working with the UFC side of ESPN, and then working with ESPN side of the UFC things. And it's just been an amazing experience.
Yeah, because you did some broadcasting, right? Are
yeah.
You still doing it?
Yep. I still do it. I just got back up. We did something last night, The Ultimate Fighter 31. Season 31 just kicked off with Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler.
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, Conor McGregor's back in the mix.
He looks jacked.
Oh,
that
my
boy
gosh.
looks big, boy.
He looks stupid jack, man. He looks like a big boy, man. So we're going to see if that fight plays out. He still has to do a few things in order to make that fight happen as far as entering in the USADA pool. But, I mean, that's going to be another big epic season.
You think he'll fight?
Yeah, he's going to fight. Oh, here it is.
Is this it?
This is it.
I
got into karate, and
again,
Carl
congratulations.
Bacino, the instructor there. At first, I was able to pay, but after a while, I wasn't able to pay anymore. And he allowed me to train there for free in lieu of I had to clean the gym. But it was good discipline, all of that. It paved the way for my. Oh, it was an earthquake. Oh man, I feel it. Yeah. Woo. Okay, earthquake, baby. All right.
Look, UFC guys ain't moving.
Hey, that's me bringing that heat. That's me bringing that heat.
It did say it. And what's funny is nobody ran.
Yeah,
you got all killers in there.
And we're at the Palms Casino in the basement, And that's where the theater is, down in the basement.
Yeah, I used to eat that.
And you just see like everything shaking above you, just like, oh my god.
And not one person. Like the guy's just holding the desk, so you can keep going.
Yeah.
Now, if you had your Mount Rushmore of UFC fighters, and you could be up there, your face, who would your Mount Rushmore be? I know people probably ask you a lot.
Okay, it would be Fedor Emelianenko, John Jones, GSP,
Yeah, it was.
and Demetrius Johnson.
Really?
Yep. And if I can add a fifth one,
Go ahead, add the fifth.
it'll be Anderson Silva.
Yeah,
you got to throw him in there.
Yeah. See, I growing up, I watched UFC with my friend and Tank Abbott. Remember the days of Tank?
Oh man, I love Tank.
Ken
Yeah.
Shamrock and guys like that. And then I kind of went off a little bit, and then GSP, and you're gonna call me crazy. And I guess because he was boring to me as watching it, because he was very technical and he'd win fights by the card and by this and by that. So I never really appreciated him till now. When I was younger, I'm like, my buddy was a big George St. Pierre fan. I'm like, God, I hate George St. Pierre. He's so boring to me. But now looking back, I'm like, man, what a hell of a fighter he was. Like just technically and everything like that. Just amazing.
GSP is one of the best athletes that I've ever seen. You know, just not even fighting, but just one of the best athletes. This guy is so athletic that, and he's always challenging himself. He went and he taught himself how to do flips, and he taught himself how to do forward flips, backward flips, and he's always challenged himself in these kind of physical ways. But, you know, when it come to being a professional, he was such a professional. He'll come in and, you know, he'll be the first one in there, roll himself out, and, you know, really took time to make sure his body was right. And, you know, he had a dog in him. You know, he had a dog in him where you just weren't going to roll him over. He wasn't going to quit. And he was one of the funniest guys I ever. Yeah, GSP is.
Think that
GSP. Oh my gosh, this dude is the funniest dude. He's so funny. You wouldn't even believe it. Like he'll hang out and he'll be like, my God, the Rashad, I swear, if you will see what I do last night, you would not be my friend. Like, my goodness, Tabernacle Carlos. And you know what I'm saying? Like, GSP was just, he's just that guy, man. Really, really fun guy, but one of the best athletes that I ever got a chance to work with.
And how was Dana White? I've never really heard a bad thing about him. And he really changed the thing. The only thing I just wish is he would make it a little bit more like the boxing, because I see like the two aspects you said. Like, you really got to stand out.
Yeah.
Because there's so many. But, you know, with the boxing, I don't know if you watched boxing when you were a kid, but I mean, shit, when we were in high school, with the build-up, I mean, if it was Tyson Holyfield or Lennox, one person would have a house, get the pay-per-view, and everybody was there, and that would be. This podcast is brought to you by Monster Energy. Tear into a can of the meanest energy drink on the planet, Monster Energy. It's the ideal combo of the right ingredients in the right proportion to deliver a big bad buzz that only Monster can. Monster packs a powerful punch, has a smooth, easy drinking flavor. Athletes, musicians, co-eds, road warriors, metalheads, geeks, hipsters, and bikers dig it. You will too. Monster Energy is more than just the green OG. Monster has Monster Ultra, Juice Monster, Monster Hydro, Rehab Monster, Dragon Tea, Monster Max, Muscle Monster, and many more. Buy on Amazon, buy on Walmart, or go to monsterenergy.com and believe me, you'll find a place. Unleash the beast. Monster Energy. I'm 43 now talking about it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though, is like, back then the buildup was everything, right? The buildup was everything. It was like waiting for Christmas to come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you love the buildup. The buildup for Christmas is almost better than Christmas Day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's that buildup that we're missing in the sport. But I mean, you know, it's just so hard to do with the shows right now. And every once in a while you have a show that kind of warrants that, where they'll start like, you know, kind of building it up beforehand. Like, for instance, if John Jones was to fight somebody like Francis Ngannou, they would build up the anticipation for that, and you can feel that months in advance, and you can kind of plan around that. But it takes a really special fight to really do that.
He comes back.
McGregor versus Michael Chandler,
Whew.
that has potential to do that. And if you put a John Jones on a card like that too, it's gonna be absolutely,
Game over.
absolutely bananas. But how is Dana? I would say Dana's one of the coolest guys in the sport, man. Because here's the thing about it: no matter what you feel about Dana, Dana's going to be honest, whether you like it or not. He's gonna be honest.
I'll take that any day.
I'll take that any day over somebody who's gonna sit up and lie in my face, right? I'll take that any day. And he's matter of fact. You know what I'm saying? He's honest and he's matter of fact, and he'll tell you straight up. He don't pull no punches, and I can respect that. But when it comes to just the human side of it, like Dana he's an extremely generous person. He's an extremely generous person, and he doesn't even talk about a lot of things that I know that he's done for a lot of people, and that he's even done for me.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
cool.
Yeah, it's
That's
really
admirable.
It's very admirable. Just like this. Like I was at the UFC a couple weeks ago, and him and I got to talking, and he told me about this cleanse that he was doing, and then he's like, "Oh, you know what? I got another cleanse at the office. You can try it out if you want." And these are like really expensive, like
Joe Rogan money, Dana White money type cleanses.
Real expensive cleanses. You know what I'm saying? He gave one to me, and I'm like, well, damn, okay,
All right.
yeah. But I mean, that's the kind of guy Dana was. Like he's never, like I never had to be like, all right, Dana, do me right. You know what I'm saying? When I was gonna fight Chuck Liddell, the first time we were supposed to fight in June. And we didn't end up working out the numbers, and something happened, and we didn't get the fight done. So then the fight came back around, and they're like, okay, well, it's in August now. We got to get this fight done because you're fighting them in September. So I'm like, okay. And he said, look, sign this contract right now. If you beat them, we'll renegotiate. And I was like, all right, cool. And I went out there and I beat them, and they held their promise. And not only that, the next day, they wrote me like a backroom bonus for like $400K.
All right.
And at the time, it was like, you know what I'm saying? That was life-changing money for me. I never had any money like that. So, and he didn't have to do that.
No.
And that's the thing. Like back in the day, they would take care of their fighters. They get a lot of slack for not giving fighters what they should. And I understand that. I understand that 100%. But I can't ignore the fact of all the times they came out of their pocket when their hand wasn't forced. And what's that? You know what I'm saying? So, they didn't have to do those things, and even Lorenzo Fertitta took me to get my suits, when I first started wearing suits. He's like, oh, you like wearing suits? All right, let me take you to get some suits. And he went and got me some like badass Tom Ford suits, you know what I'm saying? Got me like 6 of those joints, and it was
Taylor son.
Yeah, Taylor and everything. Yeah, it was. I'm telling you, it was top notch, and those are the kind of things that Dana and the promotion does, and really nobody talks about, but they look out.
I like how he didn't gaslight you. Like if you, this fucking gaslight. I got this. I don't even know why I'm saying that. This generation's getting in my head. Many people. I said, "What the fuck is gaslight?" Yeah. Now I'm saying it. But at least they weren't like, "Hey, if you fight Chuck Liddell, then we'll give you this, this, and this." Blah 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 blah. I was like, "Look, if you win, straight up."
Yeah, straight up.
I respect that.
Yeah,
I guess from an outside perspective, I mean, you're in the sport. You fought it. You made the money you did, but. It's almost, in my opinion, and correct me if I'm wrong, but like without Rashad Evans or any of these fighters, it's not the UFC. But without the UFC, you're not Rashad Evans or these guys. I mean, you're still yourself.
Right.
I mean it like that, but
yeah,
it's kind of like a two-way street. Almost.
It is. It is a two-way street. And here's the thing about it, like we're a young sport, and to be compared to the big three, there's been a lot of years that has gone by that have ironed out their hardships as far as like from an organizational standpoint and what the fighters should be getting. I mean, what the athletes should be getting paid and whatnot. So there's time that things are changing, and things are changing because now I'm hearing numbers for pay-per-views and things that guys are getting that I never dreamed of getting. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm just like, I'm in a position where I'm like,
move fast.
gosh, damn, it's going fast. And I know in probably about 5 years' time, I'm going to be sick at the number that these people are making for doing something that I used to do for not even a quarter of that, you know?
Might have to go find that toad again.
I'm telling you, man.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? What's your
Well, you
goal?
came out of retirement.
I know. But
Is that because of the mushrooms and everything?
You know, nah, you know what it was? I came out of retirement because I had to wipe that stain of loss off me.
Just get that off.
I had to wipe it off me, man. I lost my last 5 fights, and I'm just like, I can't ride off into the sunset with 5 losses.
Yeah.
You know, I went 19 fights before I lost my first fight. So I just left a sour taste in my mouth. And then, you know, having that win, I'm just like, all right, I'm cool. You know, I'm good.
You gonna fight anymore?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Like I have no desire to. I mean, if there's something that's very appealing and something that made sense, then I mean, I could be talked into doing something.
I'm sorry, Rob. Go ahead.
No. All I'm saying is, where do you see yourself, and what's your goal or what's your dream in the next 5 years? And it's a short amount of time, but where do you see you at?
You know what? I never think that far ahead, man. I'm a one day at a time type guy. I feel like I have goals and things that I want to do. Like I would eventually love to be able to really sit in ceremony. And by that I mean to sit in ceremony. And being able to live that life like a monk. Like a Russell Simmons, right? That's what I call living in ceremony, right?
Oh, he's
living in ceremony, you know, and that's what I would like. I would like to live in ceremony. And you know, will I make it there? I'm sure I will. 100% I'm sure I will. I'm just biding my time, you know, and
when you're doing your in Bali, just remember the little guys. Fly in, bro.
Man, I definitely remember you guys, because you guys are going to hook me up with Russell Simmons.
Yeah. Hey, shit. I'm telling you, the guy's great. He's got something up his sleeve.
Man, that'll be great, man. You know, but it's just about, I've been on such a grind, you know, for so long that it's just become part of who I am. And I would love to be able to just sit back and just watch, you know, sit back and just
could
chill.
You though? Could you?
I don't know,
man. I don't think you can.
I don't know if I can. I don't know if the addiction to be busy is something that I can't overcome, but
maybe
I
busy
would like
in a different way.
Right, be busy in a different way.
You know what? We've had a few guys. You know, we had Sean O'Malley on. We had Colby come in. Covington, he was in here. You in here. You know, one thing, like, we talk about kids a lot of the times on the show, and I have 2 boys, teenagers. He's got a young daughter, and
of course I have a daughter,
just,
which I'm very happy about. But they didn't even have to check the gender. I already knew.
but I just,
me and my brother were going for numbers.
Oh man,
I just look at the way like society and things go with kids. You have mental health issues, mental illness, all this type of stuff. You know, I think about it, I'm like, man, you know, it'd be great if one day, and maybe it's a Dana White thing, maybe it's a UFC thing, I don't know what it is, but they should bring, and it sounds crazy to say this, they should bring fighting into schools. And I don't mean fighting as like we're going to go out and
like
fight.
him?
Correct. But I mean
just kidding.
Classes, instead of some of the bullshit classes they teach in school, some of the shit that they teach and the stuff that they're doing, have a class that's a jiu-jitsu class. Have a class that's a yoga class. I don't know. I would love to see someone step forward and approach Congress and however it has to get done and change it, because the mental health issues amongst kids is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. And here's the thing about it, and to your point, I really like that idea, because what usually happens once you learn how to fight, you don't want to fight, because you realize that you have such a huge advantage and most people don't really understand how to fight. So you just kind of don't want to hurt anybody, because you learn the respect factor on it, because when you're coming up and learning how to fight, there's probably a time where you got your ass whooped for a long time, right?
For sure.
And that's a very humbling thing. So when you get humbled, you start to grow empathy because you know what it's like to be in that position. So when you know what it's like to be in that position, you're less likely to put that on somebody else. And it becomes something that you learn to start to have an outlet for letting out the rage or letting out the insecurity that leads you to be a bully or something like that. And you learn a creative way of letting it out. And that's what wrestling has done for me. That's what karate has done for me. And football has done for me growing up. But I feel, to your point, you know, I think it'd be absolutely amazing if they brought some kind of martial art into school. And I was in
and mandatory, I think.
Yeah, mandatory. Like for instance, I was in Dubai, and I went up there with one of the sheikh. His name was Sheikh Tahnoon. He used to own like 10% of the UFC. His brother is the one who runs the country in the UAE. He runs the whole entire country. His dad ran it before him. And
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did they have the airplane taxis yet?
The airplane.
They got them now. Yeah.
No, I didn't have the air, but I didn't experience that.
They came out with them maybe 6 months.
They're so far ahead of us when it comes to technology.
They
like
got a lot of damn money hitting.
Oh
Thanks,
my gosh! I mean that whole experience was something else at the UAE and with Sheikh Tahnoon when it comes to just experiencing so much opulence and wealth and just craziness. You know what I'm saying? It was unbelievable. But they bring jiu-jitsu into their school. It's like part of the curriculum. They have a bunch of jiu-jitsu guys that go there and they all train in the school.
Well, that guy that brought you back, Mike, the manager.
Yeah.
His son's in it. He's like what, 6, 7?
Yeah, I know.
I remember and he was a little skinny kid. You know, not a big kid. This guy's kicking everybody's ass.
Telling you, man, it does amazing for your confidence.
And like you said, I could see how that would give empathy, because somewhere along that line, you're going to be the one on the ground.
Yeah.
And you don't really want to do that. And the guy coming up to you that thinks he's got some hands.
I really would love to see that, though. I thought about it after a couple of you guys we had.
I put my daughter in it.
I'm
Shit.
like, my kids, they were in it and they took a hiatus. Now they're going to go back into it. I just think we see all these issues with kids and bullying and all this shit, and you know, then they'll have, well, it's a bullying day today and you're going to wear orange today. Well,
do they really?
That doesn't have, well, they have bully days where a certain color, I think orange.
They wear a color for a bully?
It's like bullying day. I think it's
my
orange.
grandpa would roll.
But
in his grave.
I think, like, teach the kids how to stick up for themselves, and then you won't have so much of the bullying like you're saying, because you get humbled by somebody's going to humble you.
Somebody's going to humble you. You're going to get humbled. You're going, at some point on your martial art journey, you're going to be the nail, and you're going to get hammered. And you got to deal with that in your mind. You got to deal with that. And when you deal with that, you got to be like, wow, it's not too fun to beat up on people, you know? And also, like, when you start to grow in the sport and the martial aspect of it, you have like this code of Bushido that kind of, you know, takes over, where you realize that this martial art is something sacred. You know, it's something sacred because it puts your physical body in touch with your conscious body. And it's the bridge that you have a lot of times where you start to realize that it doesn't really matter how physically I'm good at doing this technique, because somewhere along the lines, there's a marriage between the two of mindset and this technique that I'm learning. And when you learn to make the technique your own, then you become the artist. Then it's about displaying your art form. And that's what I used to love about mixed martial arts, because only I can move the way I move, you know? And that's me bringing that sugar. That's me bringing my martial art aspect to it. That's my expression. And the canvas is the canvas that I'm going to paint blood with my opponent.
Yeah. And nowadays, like, if I'm out, I was a Golden Glove boxer, right? Back then, I was the shit. Now, just in case there's some MMA in you that you got.
I'm telling you, man.
I'm good. I'm good. I don't
ready.
know. I don't know. I don't want to be. You're good. I don't know.
You know, I recently, even to take it another step further, probably about almost 2 years now, I started taking this this weapons class. Where we learn knife, we learn stick, and we learn gun. And we meet every Saturday. Sometimes we meet twice a week. It all depends what everybody has going on. But, you know, this guy named Jeff Cantor out here in West Palm Beach, you know, he teaches us. And he was a mercenary in Asia for a while. And, you know, he was just like, you know, first of all, this guy's a genius. He's written like probably about 20 something books, and they're like intricate, like detailed, amazing books. And not only about like he translates what he is able to do with weapons and like a war situation to business, to whatever aspect that, you know, anything. And he's so good at that. He has such a good mind for it. But we meet and we train with this guy, and this guy's, you know, Cantor is probably about, I don't know, maybe 64, 65 years old, right? Older guy. And he's the real life Liam Neeson. This dude, Cantor, he is unbelievable. Like, I thought like, okay, I know my shit. I'm a fighter. Like, I'll piece this old dude up. The first time I went around this guy, I was trying to do a little something. He killed me about 8 times before I even was able to move. And I'm just like, I never felt so vulnerable. But it's that humbling part, right? And I'm just like, damn, man. Like, I know how to fight, but sometimes me knowing how to fight could actually be my hindrance because I'm not aware or prepared for the other elements that a street fight can bring, which is a weapon. And especially nowadays where weapons are rampant, and especially in South Florida, where now in July there's going to be anybody can conceal to carry. You know, anybody's going to be able to conceal to carry. You don't need to have a permit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in July.
Oh.
So
you know, baby.
so it's the Wild West out here, you know. So I really wanted to learn how to defend. I wanted a gun, and I wanted to learn how to use a gun. I just didn't want to have a gun, but yeah, I got a gun. I wanted to be like proficient with my gun. So I learned some, you know, I went to him to learn some gun proficiency and weapon proficiency, and it's been the best class that I ever done. And when we get done, I'll exchange information so that way if you guys ever want to come and check it out, you can come and check it out. But it has been one of those things that's made me realize that fighting is not the end all be all. There's still another level.
That's what you could do with your time when you get bored, right? You know what? A funny story. Remember Rick Prado?
Yeah.
So Rick Prado was the head of the CIA, and we've had probably 10, 12 CIA guys in, and they go, you got Rick Prado in? Right? So he writes a book, and on the book, it has a knife, and it comes outside of the book cover. And I go, so Rick, what is it with you and these fucking knives? Like, what is it with the knife thing? And he goes, well, you know, in so many words, you know, this is my words of what he said. I don't want to put words in this guy's mouth. You know, I'm cool with him. But everybody would expect him to come with a gun or crack their neck. He would just come with that knife, and that would be it for you.
I'm telling you.
And now at what is he, 74?
He's older, yeah.
Him and this other guy, Bass, who was in, what was this show called? The Blacklist.
The Blacklist.
He was actually in the Blacklist. Both retired CIA agents. They go find missing kids at 74.
Yeah. Like
And guess what Rick
trafficking.
takes? His knife.
His knife. That's all he got.
Yeah.
And he comes back, and the job's done. But I'm telling you, even guys that were hiring him at one point, they go, Rick Prado. Oh, that guy's a legend. So I don't know what he did with that damn knife, but I can tell you.
He put in some work with that knife.
Yeah,
man.
you may have had a gun, you may be MMA, but maybe he knew all of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a different kind of energy when you interact with somebody who has like, who's been through it, right? Who's been through serious war, who has, you know, killed people in battle and stuff like that. There's a different kind of energy to them. And you can kind of see it, like when I work with my guy Jeff Cantor, he's showing a move and he's showing a technique, but every once in a while, right?
You got that look, right?
He's get this look in his eyes,
It's
like
dark,
it's like a gloss
Glaze
overlooking
over.
his glaze overlooking his eyes, and it's like, yo, this dude just
Don't fuck with him.
yo, telling you, and I'm just thinking like imagine if you're like some little punk kid and you see him and you're just like, let me go and mess with this
Yeah.
old man,
Yeah.
it will be the absolute worst mistake. This dude is so nasty. It's unbelievable.
And that's how Rick was. And he was the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
But when he would start talking about some things,
You could
and this guy's 74, I'd be like, fuck that, man.
Yeah.
Unless, even if I had a Tommy gun, I'm running. And I don't know, throw over chairs or something or call the police. You know, and they get that film. They get that by
they get
film.
that-
And it's like, boy, I hope
Run.
I hope whoever is around him when he's going to the grocery store opens that door for his wife. Because they don't want to upset this guy. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Pull up tab 7. Now back to the company. If somebody's like on the cuff of it, you know what I mean? Because psilocybin, okay, this is another extract, but you got you and, you know, Jake, you know, you got a good team. What would hover over bundles? What would you say is a good bundle to start with?
You know, I would say the Michael Rest is definitely a good bundle with the Michael Rest in it.
That one
And
there?
yep,
Yeah.
the Michael Rest, because I feel like everybody can have sleep problems, especially nowadays with
Oh,
the
yeah.
stress being so high. And I would say one of the tinctures as well too, so you can get the Michael Rise and the Michael Rest. But I'll say the lion's mane and the turkey tail. And if you're an athlete, you know, the cordyceps would be great. But if you have some kind of lung issues as well too, the cordyceps would be good too as well too, because it oxygenates the body, and it's really good at just you know, helping you from an athletic standpoint. And yeah, I mean they're all dope. But I would say if people were to get the Micro Rise and the Micro Rest, that would help with being able to manage your energy levels, because even with the Micro Rise, that has cordyceps in it, so you may not need a tincture, right?
Yeah.
And then then you can get like a lion's mane and a turkey tail, and that'll help the cognitive function, and then the turkey tail will help that gut.
Well, I ate the bar twice, and I noticed it. So the reason why I asked was because say you're on the cuff and you just get those two and you feel it, then you say, okay, there's something to this.
Yeah.
And then you'll go to the next step, you know, the other products.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
listen, the bar is amazing. The bar tastes absolutely amazing. Like which one did you take?
The blue one.
The blue one? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't
I
taste
just
like
ate
shit.
what one was this? I ate this one.
Oh yeah.
Good.
The non-dairy. How was
I
it?
ate it during the show. Here, it didn't taste like mushrooms like I thought.
No.
How was it? Was it?
It was good.
It was
it was
good?
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it had like not a stickiness, but you know what I mean. It wasn't dry.
Right.
Like a granola bar almost.
Yeah, but it had like a
See, I think the night
like a stickiness. I don't know how to describe it. It wasn't like, you know, you buy something that's just dry. It wasn't
Yeah.
dry at all. It was good. It was good.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
congratulations on that, man.
No doubt, man. But if people
Yeah.
if people want to check these supplements out, they can go to getumble.com.
Okay.
They can sign up for our newsletter, and then that way they can get information on, you know, what we have coming out the pipe and what other deals that we may have coming and things like that. But
And the energy drink that's coming.
yeah, we're gonna get the energy drink for
Which
you
one did you
with
say
some
is for
caffeine.
which one did you say is for the gut health?
The turkey tail. So if you
Lion's
that's lion's mane. That one right there, turkey tails for gut health.
I think I'm gonna order that one.
Yeah, it's really good for gut health.
Yeah, we'll have all that in the description and your IG and everything else. Anything
indeed.
else, Rob?
No, man, it was a pleasure. I learned a lot. You know, not just from the UFC perspective, which is exciting, but this is stuff that I think people need to know more about. I really do. I mean, you know, you as the fighter, but hearing this side and all this type of stuff, I think this is the type of stuff people should start waking up and realizing.
And it's always funny, you know, you as a fighter, you know, winning so many times, getting hit so many times,
Yeah.
and being so intelligent. You
I
know what
know.
I mean? Because it wasn't just like
It's the
fighting.
mushrooms.
yeah. Go right there to the website, right? But it wasn't, you know, just about fighting and the new product. I mean, we talked about a lot of shit.
Yeah,
You know what
we
I mean?
did.
It was really great.
I had a great time, man.
I'm
Thank you
glad
guys
you
both.
did, man.
I really enjoyed it, man.
and
This-
I'm like you. I like me sitting next to you. I'm like, I can't believe it was next to you. And I get like that too.
man,
you know?
this is amazing, man. I seen when you guys had Sugar Sean on, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty good. So I knew that you guys brought a pretty good show. So, but I didn't expect it to be this good. I had a great time.
All right, great, man. Thank you very much. Anything wrong?
No, that's it, man. Thank
Yeah, I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy guy. I hope to see you soon. Well, you're close, so now you have no
Yeah.
excuse.
Right down
And I
the
have,
street,
I have your number.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Hit me up, man.
Yeah, because I could talk to you all day about the mushrooms and before that thing comes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to come in and we just talk about that
I'm
stuff.
telling you, man, we'll link up.
All right, brother. Thank you
All
so
right,
much
man.
for your
Thank
time.
you,
And
I appreciate it.
congratulations on
Thank
everything.
you.
Thank you. This episode is sponsored by Aurora. Do you know what the fastest growing crime in America is? For years, this crime rate has been surging and affecting millions of Americans. I'm talking about identity theft, and there's a new victim every 14 seconds. Yet despite this, those who have had their identity stolen are often shocked when it happens. That's why I'm excited to partner with Aurora, who is sponsoring this video. Aurora is identity theft protection, fraud monitoring, a VPN, password management, and antivirus software all into one easy-to-use app. Their VPN allows you to stay anonymous online by keeping your browsing history and personal information safe and encrypted. Protect you and your family from America's fastest growing crime. Try Aurora for free for 2 weeks and see if you or anyone in your family's personal information has been compromised. Start your free trial today. Go to aurora.com/MSCS. The link is in the description below.